on today's show. It is the top stacks for your best ball drafts in 2026. Myself, Erik Beimfohr, and Pat Kerrane have worked our way all the way down from the 32nd ranked team to today, the top stack, the top 8 specifically today, our 8 favorite teams to stack in our best ball drafts for a variety of reasons, whether that be ADP, the offensive environment that we're expecting from these offenses, maybe some offensive coordinator changes, of course, the firepower overall of the offense, and everything there in between. As we tend to do, we dive pretty darn deep into all 8 of these teams, get into all the features, all the bugs, all the players that we like, and even some of the ones that we don't like, the negatives about some of these offenses that we're excited about. But we go through every nook and cranny of these offenses to get you all set up for your best ball drafts and why you should probably be stacking up some of these teams here in 2026. Let's get to the show. All right, Pat, we made it about a month and a half later and about 20 hours of conversation. We're in the Elite 8. We made it to the Elite 8, not quite the Final Four yet, but we made it to the Elite 8. The final 8 teams, our top 8 teams to stack in our best ball drafts this year. It's been a ton of fun, the whole conversation. We were just talking before the show. Like, I feel like my thoughts, I've definitely gotten smarter throughout this conversation. Of course, talking to someone smart is helpful, but just like talking these things through, like even like teams that I really like, it has really helped me. So if you haven't watched the first 3, this is episode 4 of the same subject, but it's really you mentioned it that you learned this very quickly in our conversation, but it's really like a best ball preview, like a best ball specific preview for every single individual team. Obviously, we're framing it through the lens of stacking. We got 8 left, and these offenses are all awesome. And I like them all. So I think it's going to be really fun to get into the final 8. I'm not going to read all 24 teams that we've done. I do just want to read the final 8. So here's our top 8, and we don't know the order yet. We'll figure that out here in the next hour and a half or so. The Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, New England Patriots, Philadelphia Eagles, and San Francisco 49ers. I went last to close the last episode, and I took the Cincinnati Bengals at 9 overall, which means Pat is up. And if you have not watched the first couple of episodes, I do recommend going back and listening to them. I think that they're really insightful, but we're doing sort of a draft. And then, we kind of, if we need to massage it a little bit as we move forward, but we kind of talk through every single team along the way with each one of us going back and forth. So Pat is up at number 8.
Yeah. And these are our favorite teams to stack in best ball. So the prices of the players, and being able to put them all together and all that, those are all like very important considerations, as opposed to just like, these are the offenses that we think will be the best, because some of these offenses are more expensive than others. So
that's why the Bengals are number 9. Like the Bengals are going to be awesome on offense.
Yeah.
But they're number 9 because price matters.
Yeah. Exactly. And so I'll go ahead and take the Saints like I did last week.
Elite callback. Elite callback.
We prepped a little bit more before this show, so we know the teams that are actually available to take. I'll take the Ravens, which bums me out to take them, this low, even though they are, top 8, what part of the Elite 8 here. I think the Ravens are obviously, all these are great picks now, but Lamar Jackson's a player I want to have more of, but he goes, as the quarterback 2 at a huge discount to Allen, which makes me interested in him for sure. But he's also the clear QB 2. He rarely goes behind, Daniels or Burrow or, May or whoever else. So the he's not going behind Hurts really. So
no,
normally it's like mid to late 5th. There's Lamar, and especially if I have Flowers, I'm interested, but I'm looking at that range, and there's a ton of receivers that I like there. And after, the early 6th, I don't like receiver at all. And running back has the same exact tier break. I like the running backs that go into the late 5th and to the early 6th. And then as soon as like Jadarian Price is gone, or it was Tootin, he's kind of moved up a bit, but whoever like the last of that tier is, Swift, whoever falls, right? I see a pretty big tier break. I think tier break's even bigger. I don't know. It's arguably smaller at receiver because you have Lemon at the 6-7 turn, but he's like the only guy I like there. And then there's like that group of running backs who are, I think, worse bets than the 5-6 turn, but I still have some interest in them in like the Jalen Warren, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson type of group.
It's a big tier break though, right? Like
it's a big tier break to get to those guys.
I think it's an important fact because I love the Ravens. I'm probably higher on the Ravens than you. I have them higher than this. But if people have listened to me talk, they're probably like, Eric's going to put the Ravens at number 1, and I don't have them at.
I would have
had.
I had them higher than this. Like before this, because like let's dial this in and make sure this is in line with how I'm actually drafting.
But and those tiers,
I lowered
running
the
back
Ravens.
and wide receiver, I think are genuinely important to Ravens stack specifically.
Yeah, when I initially put this list together, I had the Ravens higher. But then I'm like looking at what I'm actually drafting, and so I say I went with the Ravens here because of it's hard to actually do without, in any given draft. You're like, yeah, maybe next time, because I need the running back, I need the receiver, and sometimes I might have 2 receivers, and then the third receiver I'm pretty excited to take. Also, sometimes if Lamar's even in the early 6th, it's like, well, Rome Odunze's here too, and I want some exposure to the Bears offense, and he's fallen past ADP, and I have 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers through 5. That wide receiver 3 here is like really nice. So yeah, it's like then you have Daniels and May and Burrow sometimes past those tier breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Hurts, almost certainly past the tier. Hurts falls into the 7th. I've gotten Hurts in the 8th. So those quarterbacks, and then obviously, we talk about some of the other quarterbacks for teams that we haven't taken yet. They go later. It's more 7th, 8th round. So that's really what it is to me. I like Zay Flowers. I'm overweight Zay Flowers. I'm taking Elijah Surratt late. I'm mixing in Jacoby Lane late now. Mark Andrews, I think, is fine. Derrick Henry, I think, is fine. I'm underweight him, but it's not like a huge position. At like 5% Henry. I don't love taking Justice Hill. Rashad Bateman is making me pretty nervous at this point. I don't really take him. So it's those 2 rookies, some Andrews, some Henry, but like when I have Henry, I'm not dying to get Lamar. It's more about having Flowers. The Flowers Lamar stack is pretty clean though. Like if you told me, hey, I'm taking a bunch of Flowers, I'm even taking them in the 3rd to make sure I get them, and I take Lamar in the 5th, and it's a late 3rd, late 5th, and I can get that pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a huge part of my portfolio this year. I'm like, that's pretty fun. There's definitely worse things to do. I could definitely, and like that's not even a bad thing. Like that's like a thing I'm not prioritizing, but it's I could see it being like, well, why didn't I prioritize that?
Right. 3rd round Zay. You can take 2 running backs. You can take a running back and Brock Bowers. You can take a 0 running back team and get Zay plus Lamar and still be good at the other positions in those first 5 rounds and feel really comfortable with it.
Super comfortable. You go running back, Zay, wide receiver, Lamar.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty good.
The round 4 wide receivers are great. You
they're
get
great.
Your 2 strong running backs. Like it fits into any structure. That's why it is in the top 8 and why I think it's awesome. And then, we'll talk a little bit more about just the Ravens prospects this year. Cause I'm like every new article that comes out, it's total confirmation bias. I own that, but like everything they say about Declan Doyle, everything Declan Doyle says himself. And then you like dig into the numbers. I'm like, Declan Doyle is like an analytic nerd. I know he knows this. I'm like, he's looking at the same data that I'm, everything he's preaching is like, oh my God, Lamar's the best in the league at that. Oh my God, Lamar's the best in the league at that. Oh my God, Zay's awesome at that. Oh, Derrick Henry is awesome at that. And he's like, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing,
Right.
So, it's an exciting offense, but it's kind of still a little bit quirky from a best ball perspective.
Yeah. And I think there's, I'm trying to do, it's a game where I'm drafting like thousands of teams, and so I'm like trying to do the stuff I think is like the sharpest stuff at a high rate. And I think Lamar is a good pick, but there are better picks at quarterback. And then he again, he falls in this range that it's like a little bit. It's like probably the best thing I can do for a lot of my teams is just get a high scoring player at running back and receiver, or running back or receiver, instead of taking 5th round Lamar. And so that makes him more of like a 6th round pick to me. And then he doesn't fall there a lot. So that's how you get underweight on Lamar, even though the Ravens could smash.
The counterpoints to that someone would say, or that I just did I do live streams Tuesday through Friday mornings, and one of them I talked about some of those fits for the Ravens and things that Lamar does well and things that Declan Doyle is talking about. And I also just looked at, so last year was a down year, of course, for Lamar, and that's sometimes how the quarterback stuff goes. But in 2024, it's pretty rare a quarterback does what Lamar did in 2024.
Yeah, he was arguably the MVP.
Yeah, and it was one of the better fantasy seasons we've seen in a long time from a fantasy quarterback, and specific to best ball. And I get this probably applies to redraft too. We track things like usable weeks and spike weeks and dud weeks and all that kind of stuff on spike week. And Lamar was the only quarterback to never post a dud, which I find in 2024, right? Which I find to be almost as valuable as the crazy ceiling games that he was also putting up, right? He threw for 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and ran for 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was insane. You legitimately could have drafted Lamar as your only quarterback and not only advanced, but like crushed. Which is I'm not recommending that by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying that's how good he was in 2024. And so it's in there. He had a down season, and now we are getting a bit of a discount on him when all of the indicators from the offseason moves that they made, from the new there's the whole new regime, right? Harbaugh's gone as well. It's not just a new offensive coordinator. I'm particularly, if you would have asked me 18 months ago about Declan Doyle, I would have said, who are you talking about? And now I'm like, I fucking love this guy. Like, I love this guy. So it could be total fool's gold. I'm falling for the, he's very good at talking about these things. And obviously I'm not at practice. I'm not in the meetings. I don't know how this is going to go, but he's emphasizing everything that we dream of from our offensive coordinators, right? Playing fast, play action, throwing the ball downfield, explosives. Every time he talks about explosives. And then when you go look at Lamar specifically in all of those regards, he's like incredible. And even last year when he had a down season, just, quarterback rating is what it is. But if you look at quarterback rating off play action, who was the best in the league? Lamar Jackson. You look at downfield 20 plus yard passes down the field, who was the best in the league? Lamar Jackson. Like he aligns to everything that they're trying to do structurally as an offense. And then by the way, there's Derrick Henry that makes those things work better because the defense has like, you can't just like stay back, right? The explosive stuff down the field works because Derrick Henry is back there as well. And Lamar's late, right? So now Lamar's rushing is better too. It's like, it all sort of, the stars kind of align. The only thing is they need someone to emerge amongst the non-Zay Flowers wide receivers, because Mark Andrews is just whatever at this point in his career. He's not bad. He's not great. He's a functional NFL tight end. But I think they're going to play more of these explosive guys. I think they drafted Surratt and Jacoby Lane to play. Jacoby Lane specifically feels like go be the box out, go get a jump ball rebound type guy that we haven't had. And then I think people are going to that are not drafting Tez Walker right now might be drafting Tez Walker in August in best ball specifically, because he's like this post type sleeper. I liked him as a prospect. He was a weird prospect. He fits the whole like explosive thing. I was higher on Elijah Surratt than the average person was as a prospect. So I like him, and I draft him too. I think he's a good player. I also think he's a good fit, frankly, for this offense, but not in the explosive way. I think
he's Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to fill a weird version of Isaiah Likely in this offense as more of a slot receiver. But anyway, like Tez Walker is the guy with the 4.3 speed that's a high A-dot type,
he's actually explosive. Stretcher. Lane isn't really that explosive. Tez Walker could be. I'm open to Tez Walker. I mean, it depends on what happens with Bateman, but he could take Bateman's job. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I mean, Bateman has been pretty underwhelming, so
They don't have ties
Yeah.
to him either, right? Minter and of course Declan Doyle don't have ties to Rashad Bateman, whereas the old regime, and this is me reaching, right? But again, connecting dots. The Harbaugh regime was always very tied to their guys and specifically tied to veterans. You know, they would bring in DeAndre Hopkins. They would bring in these old guys. Tylan Wallace would have, you know, games running 30-40% of the routes because they have the guys that they like and trust, and they ran an offense in a particular fashion, right? The Pat Ricard and, you know, Charlie Kohler is out there more than we would like to see, and they've totally shifted away from that. And so that doesn't mean any of these guys are going to be big hits, but I do think, and it's an actual argument for moving them up, would be, I don't know which guy it is, but one of those wide receivers has to be a hit, like kind of has to be a hit. I think it's either Tez or Surratt personally, like as my favorites, but like, dude, they're not going to be doing all this multi-tight. I know they drafted Matthew Hibner, but I'm not that worried about Matthew Hibner, like, you know, becoming the new Isaiah Likely. And like, just there's routes available in this Ravens offense at wide receiver in the last round, like literally the last round, often undrafted, available to us. So like I said, I take the most Tez and Surratt, and I do take Bateman, and I do take Lane, but someone amongst that group almost like has to be at least a small hit from a best ball perspective. Like, you're not probably maybe starting those.
I think you're right that someone probably will be at least a small hit. It's the trouble is there's 4 of them, and you know, 3 of them could be meaningful losses. And so how much,
but it's also possible
exposure do you want?
It's also possible two are hits.
It is possible 2 are hits. I mean, Bateman,
in the last
like
round.
Bateman could be a hit,
100%,
you know, too. Like, it's, yeah. I've done stuff where I've taken Lane and Surratt because they've actually said, like, we need one of these guys to step up. So yeah, I mean, well, but it is of course possible that the answer is Tez, Bateman, and Flowers, and mostly Flowers. You know, and Andrews is the number 2 target, so you're getting the number 3 target on a run first team. You know, it might be kind of ultimately like, yeah, that was okay, but yeah, I burned some roster spots finding it and all that. So I'm generally am doing it by playing, like I said, I am taking Surratt, I'm taking Lane, I have taken Bateman. I haven't taken Tez yet, but I'm actually reconsidering that. We raised up Tez recently. I think on DraftKings he might start to pop for us now a little. But yeah, those dudes are all intriguing, and that's one of those situations I'm watching really closely in training camp of how the wide receivers shake out, because the wide receiver 2 for the Ravens, I think, is like more up for grabs than people maybe realize, or I don't know. Bateman goes so late, people probably do realize it, but you know, that wide receiver 2 role being up for grabs is pretty cool. And then the wide receiver 3 is like definitely up for grabs. It's probably Tez right now. It's probably Flowers, Bateman, Tez right now, but those rookies, you know, could emerge. And Surratt, I think, has a real chance to play in this like inside power slot role, maybe pretty early, which could be pretty damn fun, given that we know Lamar likes to target the middle of the field. So yeah, I wish Andrews had, you know, was younger and wasn't kind of flashing that he's kind of washed now a little bit. You know, he's at least declining. I don't know if he's
was it last year he dropped that pass? 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago in the playoffs. I feel like I part of me wonders the psychologist in me, I guess. It's like he wasn't as good last year. You know, that was like a career defining drop.
Well, I mean, it was. I mean, it really was pretty awful. I can like literally picture it, and then like picture where I was. And my wife's a Ravens fan, so it was a lot of like no.
You see him wide open. You see the throw is on target. You're you know, you start to put your hands up like this, and he just drops it. Like, as a fan, like I generally root for the Ravens because I really like Lamar, and say he's one of my favorite receivers in the league. But I'm not like a passionate fan. I can only imagine how that was.
He dropped to 1.23 yards per route run last year, which is like
pretty bad.
Bad for tight end. Bad, not like maybe brutal for a tight end, but bad. You know, you want your tight ends, like you have a tight end in the 1.5 range, it's fine. That's kind of like, okay, you play tight end, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not like anything special, but you're doing okay. But Andrews has been at 1.8 or higher basically his entire career has been 1.8 or higher until last year. He falls to 1.23. He's turning 31 in September. Uh, he he could really fall off, which has me off of him to some extent. If I have Lamar, I'm more likely to take him. But
Mm-hmm.
having him as like the secondary pass catcher and not super cheap, like at a price that's similar to other guys that haven't completely tailed off, that are older or or haven't tailed off at all and just were never quite as good at peak. Um, but Kelsey fell off 1.49 yards per route run in 2024. He's 1.47 though last year. He's older. He's going to turn 37 in October. He could be equally. They could be literally, Spider-Man meme pointing washed levels.
Yeah. Yeah,
the exact same
the
level
washedness of Travis, right? It's like when Tony Gonzalez became washed, he was still a different level of washed from the average receiver, right? When Antonio Gates, like Travis Kelce was on those levels. Mark Andrews was really good, but he wasn't like,
it was never
Travis
Kelce.
Kelce is one of the best receiving tight ends of all time.
Right. Right. And in a higher volume offense too. That's the other thing. Like the Chiefs are going to pass more than the Ravens. So
Definitely.
Equal levels of washed. You still want Kelsey. And Kelsey goes first, but it's like Andrews. I don't know. I like some of the other tight ends who go around him more.
He doesn't stand out. I don't think, like you said, unless you have Lamar and you're like specifically targeting a Raven stack, I don't think that Andrews stands out in his tier. It's a tier of quite frankly, a bunch of that, like you said, kind of starts with Kelsey to Andrews and Ferguson, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some other names. I mean, Isaiah likely, Goddard. I mean, Goddard has fallen off, just buoyed by touchdowns last year. What did he catch? Like 50 something passes and 10 touchdowns or something. Like, his same thing, yards per out run fell off, whatever. And I'm not even saying those guys
Kincaid is there though. Like I think Kincaid is Kincaid has a later ADP than Andrews.
Could they be more different? Could Kincaid be more different from that range of tight end, where that range of tight end is a lot of those guys where you're like, look, they're on good offenses, they're fine, but I'm getting the guy on the good offense. Kincaid is also on the good offense, but he's like awesome at he's like genuinely an awesome receiver. Like, but highest
his knee, it's about, but it's not him being washed. It's like, can he play more because he's been dealing?
He needs to be on the field more.
Yeah,
he needs to be on the field more. He's still not a good blocker, and he's been hurt. And so, if you're not on the field, it's great to have look. Sometimes I get made fun of, rightfully so, for like fixating on some of the basic analytics. It's great to have an awesome yards per out run. It's great to have an awesome targets per out run, but we don't get fantasy points for those if you run 18 routes or whatever. Like that's not awesome. Give me the guy who ran 38 routes. Like that's a lot more helpful to me, even if he's less efficient.
Yeah, and generally I agree. But with Kincaid, you have the upside of like a younger player who has been dealing with this injury, who they've been saying looks pretty good, and maybe he does run more routes now. In an offense that kind of needs him to really, if they're going to take a step forward as a passing offense, I think Kincaid is as important as DJ Moore. So
I would argue more important.
Yeah, he might be more important.
But that's we don't have to talk about these.
But I've got 10% Kincaid. I'm not like hammering him, but I'm a little overweight. But that makes me, get down there. And unless I have Lamar, I'm going to take Kincaid over Andrews generally.
Yeah.
And then it's not like Andrews is this amazing reason to take him. And because I don't have clarity at the end of the draft, so which receivers, I'm not hammering any of them. I'm going to be like overweight Ravens ambiguous receiver, but I don't know, it's not like in every draft I'm grabbing this one dude type of thing, which would maybe be more like, hey, I should probably take another running back here, but I'm gonna take Lamar Jackson. That's more fun. If I had clarity on that last round click, then or if I really liked Mark Andrews, because Flowers is gone, right? It's not like they're at the same turn. That would be the other thing. If Flowers was a 5-6 round turn pick and you could just do Flowers Lamar, and just lock up the stack, that way when you weren't sure, but you're like, oh, I'm going to take Flowers. Well, Lamar doesn't always get to you. In the pick that you take Flowers might be at the, 312, 401 spot. Well, Lamar doesn't always get back to you there. So, it's the whole stack doesn't quite fall into place as easily as I'd like, but it is an awesome, when you have it, it's pretty damn fun.
I call Ray Davis the mental health hack of best ball this year, because he's a free running back who I know, if he gets in there, he can score fantasy points. And then we joke because they play the Dolphins in week 17, right? And you can just be like, well, if Ray Davis is the guy, and you can just like wish cast all these bullshit things that are never going to happen. Like, if the Dolphins they're not going to win a game. Why would the Bills expose James Cook, to
so
too many
funny.
carries, right? It's like, it's a mental health hack. You're putting all these positive vibes into your brain. They're nonsense. You might as well put a tinfoil hat on before you do it. But like, it's total nonsense. I feel a little bit similar about the Ravens stack, where you're like, when you get Zay and then you get Lamar, and then like, oh, maybe you need a late wide receiver. You feel excited to be like, yeah, dude, give me Surratt on this team. Give me Tez on this team. Even give me Bateman. I'm like, Bateman feels good on this team. Like, I hate Rashad Bateman, but it feels good. Like, I didn't really like Jacoby Lane as a prospect, but I'm like, dude, I can envision 2 touchdowns to Jacoby Lane
for sure
in a game. You know what I mean? It's like I think Andrews is kind of washed, but I'm like, I don't know. I need a tight end right here. Like, I can envision it. The Ravens are like this weird sort of quasi mental health.
Once you're in, you go, you're like, as soon as Lamar's on the team, you're like, the Ravens are by far the best play in this entire tournament. What are people doing?
100%. They play the Bengals in week 17. It's like, dude, the stars align for we know that shit doesn't matter, but in the moment, I leave the draft happier. I leave the draft much happier when I have that. Give me the Lamar Zay stacks with Tez Walker and Ray Davis in the last 2 rounds. And I'm like, I'm gonna set a new max at the gym on some lift or something after I do that. All right. I want to, because I say this a lot, and I do want to shout out, obviously, our friend Ben Gretsch coined a term that I also like a little bit for the Ravens years ago, what he called the identity back, and it's sort of based around Derrick Henry, where honestly, like, probably no offense has been more identity focused on their running back, which doesn't really happen in the NFL. Right? Teams have identities, and the running back kind of fits in to what your identity is.
The 49ers would,
CMC's one.
Is pretty,
JT, Derrick
JT,
Henry, right?
Yeah.
But like, even like recently,
Bijan is becoming a pretty big identity.
Yeah, but he hasn't been. Like, if you just removed Bijan before, they were just like, we're kind of going to run a similar offense and just give it to this guy who's like 40% of Bijan, But Derrick Henry was like, dude, the current backup now, it's a weird backup. Like, Justice Hill's not going to just come in and take all the work, right? If something happens to Derrick Henry, but you can't run the same offense if you don't have when your offense is centered around Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. If you remove Derrick Henry from the equation, so like, if you don't have Derrick Henry on a team, and say you have the Lamar Zay thing, like, I think you can bolt on even more Ravens than maybe some other teams you would, because you could just say, like, look, they get to the play, like, he doesn't have to miss the whole season or even miss an extended stretch. You just get a game where you're like, there's no Derrick Henry, dude. They project to throw the ball 28 times a week, and now they're throwing the ball 38 times a week because Derrick Henry is not in there, because he is a huge part of the identity, if not the identity of the offense. So I just think it's notable for not really like super duper actionable, though. I'll toss Justice Hill on like some DK DraftKings, or drafters Raven stacks a little bit more than I would another backup running back.
Yeah, it adds a little more volatility to the offensive outlook, where if he were to miss time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But you can make up from the pass game perspective, you're hopefully making up for, Lamar's awesome, and you're just betting that Lamar can make magic happen no matter what. But you're saying, like, okay, they're going to be less efficient because we removed this awesome running back, but we're going to get more volume. We're going to get more passing volume.
Right.
All right. Pick 7 is up to me. One could argue another identity back for me, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles for me at number 7. I always feel awkward in these moments because we're talking about the top 8 stacks. It's like when somebody's like, "Why do you hate Jonathan Taylor?" I'm like, I have him ranked 3 spots after ADP. Like, I don't like. I have him 9th overall instead of 7th or whatever. Like, I don't hate him. I just don't like him quite the same that the market does. I obviously like the Eagles, but I think it's important to start with some of the negatives, and quite frankly, I know that they are also making some shifts, right, in terms of offensive coordinator. They're getting a lot of hype. That's why they're 7th overall. They're getting what's his name? What's the offensive coordinator? New offensive coordinator for the
Sean
Eagles?
Mannion.
Sean Mannion, is getting wizard hype just like Declan Doyle is. I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to see what Mannion does with this group. But we did lose AJ Brown, and we replaced him with a rookie who I'm excited for. I draft a lot of Mekhi Lemon. I'm really excited for Mekhi Lemon. Dallas Goedert has fallen off. They really struggled last season, and I do have some concerns that it's not so much even an Eagles issue, that it's a Jalen Hurts issue. So like I think that there's just downside to like, Jalen Hurts is part of the problem, and he is ultimately the feature piece, just like Lamar in Raven stacks. Jalen Hurts is the feature piece. We're getting a good price on Mekhi Lemon, I would say, and then the rest is just fine prices. I do like the Jalen Hurts price, but like Devontae Smith is priced like AJ Brown is not there, right? And I love Devontae Smith. He's awesome. I'm not sure you can build the passing game plane out of a 170-pound, boundary wide receiver. He's really good. There's no question. But like, can I build an offense where I load 30% of the targets up to Devontae Smith? I don't think so, personally. Dallas Goedert's not that guy anymore. He's fine, right? But Dallas Goedert's like the beneficiary of a good offense rather than the creator of a good offense. I think from a stacking perspective, they need Lemon to be good. And I think Lemon will be good. Again, that's why they're ranked really highly here. But they've shown some warts, even in like when things were going well, when Saquon was dunking on all of us idiots who didn't draft him in the second round. Like they still showed some warts, like some really down stretches. And then last year was pretty terrible. From a fantasy perspective, they're still going to score fantasy points just like they did last year. But we do need something to change. Either Jalen Hurts needs to change, Sean Mannion needs to inspire the change that happens here, or Mekhi Lemon needs to sort of become a really good, like, I guess Dontavian Wicks is an upgrade over Jahan Dotson or whatever, but it's not like such an upgrade that I'm so excited. So I'm like excited to draft the Eagles, and like also like still kind of, I don't know, there's something in the back of my brain that's like, can't put them near the top, even though they're pretty easy to stack. And I really genuinely like all the individual pieces, but they're a weird sort of push pull that I have in drafts.
Yeah, I would have them actually at least a couple spots higher. So I would kind of make the pro case a little bit more for the Eagles, even though we now have them 7th. So
yeah, that's why I led with sort of the bull, because I think I knew you were a little bit higher on the Eagles, so we can do a little.
I am. I mean, I'm with you on Smith. Like, I don't love Smith where he goes. Like I think some of the like the ship chasing guys I think are generally higher on Smith than I am. We'll probably end up with him on some main events.
Can I ask Smith or Zay, if you could only draft one famous, if someone's listening, they're drafting one team, would you rather take Zay Flowers or Devontae Smith in the 3rd round?
I'd probably take Zay Flowers.
I would too.
I think they're both very good.
Lemon, but I would rather take Mekhi Lemon than the ancillary options for the Ravens.
For sure. Right? Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like, as I think about the whole season, like who's the whole season more likely to be about, their breakout kind of defining the season. I think Zay is a better bet because the secondary target there is either a tight end who could be completely washed this year, like sub 1 yards per route run washed, or Rashad Bateman or Tez Johnson or a rookie. Mm-hmm. So like Declan Doyle is kind of figured out how to get this offense, firing a little bit more efficiently, built it around what everyone does well. And Zay's just like dominating targets in kind of, an Amon-Ra sort of esque way.
He could lead the league in catches. I think he could lead the league in catches.
I think he has that big time ceiling. I know people make the case for Smith in a similar way, where it's like, it is similar. Like they have the offensive coordinator upgrade with Sean Mannion, and they also, don't have a ton of other guys. Like they've been saying even before the AJ Brown trade that that's one of the reasons we knew Brown was getting traded, is that they were going to have the whole offense run through Smith. And I think that he will likely have some crazy high target share games early in the season. but I think Lemon can play, and I don't think that's going to hold up over the course of the year. Like, this is not having, if you want to compare it to like JSN, this isn't like Cooper Kupp, as your, a very washed Cooper Kupp is the secondary target. Like, Lemon, I think, can play. I think Smith could certainly like dust on Tavian Wicks. He could dust Dallas Goedert, who seems to be tailing off. But I think having Stowers there isn't totally nothing either. From between Goddard and Stowers, one of those guys is going to get some targets. I think Wicks can kind of play a little, so he carves out a little target share too. Like, I just don't know. I think with Lemon could totally bust, but I don't think the tight ends then will probably help pick up some of the slack. I'm just skeptical that Smith is like able to kind of pull off the 30% target share thing.
I agree. And so I think, to me, the big thing. So first of all, I don't tell anyone that I like Saquon in the second round.
I like Saquon a lot.
I'm completely happy including Saquon in Eagle stacks. There's been some speculation that RIP to my boy Will Shipley, that Saquon's going to play on passing downs this year. It's very early, but if that happens, I think Saquon has Saquon and Jonathan Taylor. It honestly is set up for this. That we're just going to keep doing whoever had the good year last year, we move that guy into the top 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we put the other guy in the second round. And then they do, right. JT has a little bit of a disappointing year this year relative to cost. And Saquon is like, yeah, you idiots. Of course Saquon bounced back. So it's like, it's funny because I'm like lukewarm on Devontae Smith, but I actually really like Saquon in the second round. So like, give me Saquon and Lemon and Hurts almost over Devontae Smith as a part of the stack, which sounds funny because I do think Devontae Smith is like gonna have a high target share and he's a really good football player. But it's weird kind of
price.
I think that's why the Eagles are so weird for me and why I put him here is because it's kind of awkward, sort of like the Ravens thing, like you said. It's like it's just kind of weird, but I do get a better Hurts price and I really like Lemon just like you do, and so that definitely makes them a cozy stack. I mean, I can just stack Lemon and Hurts in any draft that I want as well, which is
that's one of the reasons nice. I think they're at least a little higher. I had them at least a little higher is because you can just start the stack at the 6-7 turn with Lemon and Hurts, and then you're not done. You can go get Eli Stowers, you can get Goddard if you want to do that. And I think Goddard has fallen enough to where he is a decent click.
Market has realized
a bit underweight,
but he's not that good. Yeah, I think we're going to be able to. If you're underweight, I think you're going to be able to rectify that if you would like to over the summer.
I'm at like 5.5%, so I might end up underweight. I might be pretty much even with the field if he falls a little bit more. He's fine. I'm underweight Smith, but then I'm basically overweight. I am overweight basically the entire rest of the offense. I have a lot of Stowers. I have a lot of Lemon. I have a lot of Wicks, who I think kind of helps if you've got some Omar Cooper, which I do. If you got some Casey Concepcion, if you got some of these other rookies, like frankly, even if you have Lemon, and you're betting on the offense, you've got Lemon and Hurts, and you want to tack on Wicks later. I think Wicks can provide some pretty usable production in the early part of the season. Lemon, is a rookie wide receiver, and he could help there. But I also might have 2 other rookies on the team, 3 other rookies on the right. So like that kind of chaperone element for completely free. I mean, Wicks last round type of pick. And then Stowers, I think, offers you the opposite with that late season upside at tight end. This guy's a big slot. He's super, super athletic. And, I think we'll be able to play big slot for the Eagles at a sufficient rate to where, he's someone that matters in the fantasy playoffs if he's good. And he was a second round pick, and I think he probably is good. So he's not like a total slam dunk, but I do draft a lot of Stowers. So yeah, that kind of backdoor stack element that you get with them. Plus, even though I don't like Smith at cost very much, I do like Barkley a lot. Like if they throw to Barkley, like my God. And even if they don't, you have the Eagles thing where it's like that you have Shane Steichen. The offense looks great. They hire Brian Johnson. Meanwhile, Steichen goes off and you're like, oh, this guy was a good coach, and then Brian Johnson, you're like, uh-oh. And then Kellen Moore comes in. It's great. And then, they win the Super Bowl. Moore gets hired. We're like, oh, Kellen Moore, it's this was a pretty rough situation that he found himself in New Orleans, and now we're actually optimistic about it because he's a good coach. Then we get Kevin Patullo for the Eagles, and it's like, woof. Sean Mannion is not, just some buddy of Nick Sirianni. He was an up-and-coming offensive mind that people were really excited about. The Packers did not want to lose, but they managed to get him. I think his hiring is a pretty big deal for getting this offense back on track. And I think Saquon is potentially a huge beneficiary where, last year it was just, writing it up week to week. It's just so clear the Eagles were just like a suboptimally designed offense. Like, how are you not able to get more out of this group of players, this very talented group of players than they did? I think Mannion's gonna be able to do that, and I think it's gonna really help Saquon. I'm like 12-13% Saquon, even though it's hard to get overweight on a guy going in the early second. But he's been a bit of a priority for me there.
It's also a weird thing at the once you get through, depending upon your feelings on James Cook and Ashton Genty or whatever, but once you get through CD or Justin Jefferson, depending upon who goes last there, it's a little bit of like all right, now it's dealer's choice time. James, it's like James Cook, Ashton Genty, Saquon Barkley, Ken Walker, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, right? It's like all those guys. Yeah. I'm like, I don't take those guys over Jefferson or CD personally.
Me neither.
But once you get through those guys,
I also think Genty's in his own tier above.
Me too. I also have Genty above those guys. But if someone wanted to say, let's put Genty in that tier, I'm not going to really quibble over that. And so you get into that tier that's like, dude, from them to Bowers is like one huge giant tier. So if you really love one of these guys, great, you can get them. Like, you can get them on a ton of teams if you want them. And then also you can mix and match. Like, if you move Saquon around the board, or I'm going to get Saquon with Ken Walker this time. I'm going to get Saquon with Genty this time. I'm going to get, dude, fucking pull up Saquon and take him with Bowers if you love Saquon. I'm like, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying last year Saquon was a top 5 pick, and 2 years ago he was the fucking RB1 in fantasy. Everybody was dunking on every idiot tout who didn't draft Saquon Barkley, and now you can have him with Brock Bowers, who we also drafted at the 1-2 turn last year, and we're even more excited for him this year. That second round is really ripe for, if you have something you believe in, and I kind of do believe in. And
Genty's gone. That's the thing, because
I believe in Genty, but honest to God, at the 1-2 turn, if I can get Genty and Saquon, dude, sign me up for Genty 100%. Saquon at the 1-2 turn. There's a little more hype for Ken Walker in our world, our bubble, and I'm excited for what Ken Walker's going to do with the Chiefs. But honestly, I think just give me I'm
Saquon over Walker. I'm definitely Saquon over Walker. Yeah. I know I'm overweight Walker. I'm at 10%, but like I said, I'm at 12.7 on Saquon on an underdog, and I'm happy to be overweight. It's, again, there's lots of good picks there, so it's hard to get super overweight. But man, and we just talked through him on the main event, which I'm currently doing one with Pete Overzet, Davis Maddock, and Jacob Sanderson. So as you can imagine, we did take Kenneth Walker, but had Saquon gotten to us in the second, and he didn't, we would have, I think, had a long debate about that. And frankly, I'm very happy that we got Kenneth Walker, because I think it buys me another Saquon share later in the summer when we do some live drafts with Davis. So it's Saquon is a guy who, it's not just a best ball thing. Like in my high stakes stuff, I really want some Saquon exposure. I think he's had the receiving element in the past. I don't think they're suddenly going to be throwing to him all the time.
No.
One of the reasons I was out on him in the year that he absolutely crushed for the Eagles is that I was like, well, he's already not getting as much receiving as you'd like sometimes, and then they're not going to throw to him. So what? He's got to basically have an all-time breakaway season and score like 1 million touchdowns, which is exactly what he went out to do. It sucks really bad for me.
2,000 yards.
Yeah,
every week, he literally every single. It was the most It was a troll. It was the biggest troll.
Yeah.
We're living in a simulation because it was everything we said about Saquon. Like I said, here are the concerns. Let's stack them up. Like you just said, 1, 2, 3. It's like all the concerns were 100% correct. He just said, "Fuck you," right? I'm taking
Yeah, because
80 yards to-
he did get poached at the goal line too. Like
Yeah.
that's the other crazy thing.
Hurts
You know?
and even Goddard is poaching him at the goal line.
Yeah.
I'm like, every concern I had is hitting, and it was he would do it in the first quarter of every game.
He actually
It's
only
like-
had 15 touchdowns. That's the other funny thing
It
about it.
felt like 40.
It felt like 40,
it-
but that's
it-
because he ran for 2,000 yards.
Every first quarter, I swear to God, obviously this is hyperbole, but as
Yeah.
someone who didn't draft him, every first quarter of every game just felt like notification. Like you just get Saquon, a 80-yard touchdown run or whatever. It felt like every goddamn week. So, but again, that's in there still. And now we actually
And it
have
was
some
there
more-
last year. Like there was the
Right.
game. It was the week that everyone played Bijan when Kirk Cousins played.
Yeah,
I
the
wrote up,
Dolphins.
I think yeah, I think
Bijan
Saquon
scored
was
like
a cover boy
5.
to walk through that.
Bijan
week.
was like $9,000 on DraftKings and like 60% owned and scored 5
Yeah.
DraftKings
Yeah,
points.
yeah.
I fucking played him. Yes.
Saquon was that week because I remember setting my line. We were like, where were we? Upstate? No, not. I felt like upstate New York to me because I used to live in New York for so long, but it was in California because that's where I live now. But we did like the little mountain town vacation, weekend getaway thing in the fall. It was quite
a little
quite
more
pleasant.
fun than it is here in the St. Louis area. But yes,
Right,
I'm familiar.
right. And we I just remember that very clearly of like right as kind of like post lock and then Saquon like immediately hit and I was like, oh, this is fun. like I could have been doing this like the whole time.
Exactly.
And like it would have been on brand because it's like Saquon was on my BBM team. Like why did I decide I was out on Saquon? This seems dumb as hell.
I think that was the Giants game. He had 150 rushing yards and a touchdown and 24 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Giants sounds right. Yeah.
And he was because the Giants, even Amari Hampton was not particularly great last year, and even Amari Hampton straight cooked the Giants run run defense. And Saquon was like not popular. It was like it's one of those you look back and you're like, what was I doing? Why did I do this? That was obvious in hindsight. But again, he has it in him. And there's the last thing I was going to say is we actually have more. Last year was like, oh man, like you said, this is Sirianni's buddy. I think it was very
week
comfortable.
8, if that was the Giants game.
That's correct. Week 8.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it was week 8.
14 for 150. No big deal. What a Saquon game. But this year, I think, like you said, with Mannion, with some of they're talking about motion and play action and getting under center more and outside. They're changing some of the run game schemes to a little bit more outside zone, which is generally a little bit more explosive, right? They're not using the word explosive. Declan Doyle's very good at maybe it's propaganda, but he's very good at promoting it. Whereas Mannion isn't using those specific words, but they're kind of hinting at like some of the things that they're going to do to kind of hunt some explosives as well. And I mean, alongside Derrick Henry, there is no more explosive runner, Gibbs and stuff, but Saquon is super duper elite. So
yeah. All right, I'll go next here.
Keep going. I'm listening. I'm just be out of camera for 2 seconds.
Good. I will say the Jaguars, who I think we're now just in teams that are like objectively fun stacks. So there's not that much I can say negative. The thing I'll say is like why I don't have this any higher than this, why they're not top 5, is I'm not taking like a ton of Lawrence, and I don't really take any Parker Washington. I'm not taking a ton of Myers. I think he's like an okay, like, oh, I'm a little bit behind at receiver. I'm gonna like try to bail myself out with like more of a volume play and Myers and a good offense. Brian Thomas, I'm not taking a ton of. And so the way I'm playing the Jaguars is like a little concentrated through mostly Travis Hunter and Bashal Tutin. Although Chris Rodriguez is falling enough to where I'm starting to take him. I was basically completely out before. Now I have like a little bit coming into my
free
slow
fall.
drafts.
He's in free fall.
Yeah. And I think there's upside there from a, like round 12 type of perspective. It's not like this massive upside that I want to be taking in like the 10th or the 9th or whatever. But yeah, if I'm like, hey, running back 4, taking him in the 130s. Okay, you know, it's. I don't think he's gonna be the lead back there, or necessarily even like in a 50-50 split, but it's definitely possible, and it's a good offense. So I'm now starting to mix him in a bit. But Lawrence is not a guy like when I look at those other quarterbacks and the range where he goes, he's rarely the one that like pops to me as like, oh man, got to get Trevor Lawrence here. And anytime I'm not taking a ton of the quarterback, and I am a little underweight Lawrence, I'm at 6%, then it becomes harder to really have the stack super high. But as a backdoor stack where you're like, you can take naked Lawrence and then tack on Travis Hunter, which I just did earlier in a slow draft, completed the stack. It was like, oh, that was fun. I waited 5 days ago. I set this up and now it's here. And then I do take a lot of Tootin, which gets me into the Jaguars, where maybe I have like Tootin, Myers, Hunter, or Tootin, Strange, Hunter without Lawrence. And I think just like making sure you have an overweight position on some of the Jaguars, I think it's something I want to do. I think this is it's going to be a good offense. I really believe in Liam Cohen. I think they're going to score points. The running backs, whether you believe in Tootin or you don't, the running backs are cheap, because if you don't believe in Tootin, that means Chris Rodriguez is really underpriced. And then obviously LaQuinn Allen is completely free. And I think more of a DraftKings 20th round type click, but
yep.
In the mix.
I've been taking him a good bit lately, actually. I'm glad that you brought him up, not to make this about LaQuinn, but we're at the weird time of the year where the late running backs are really tricky.
Yeah.
Like, sure. I know you've spoken about, we both talked about, and done plenty of content about, like, I'm taking more early running backs than, maybe my history indicates, because at this time of year, there's a bunch of late wide receivers. Like, I at least know I'm going to get routes, and they're going to make the team, and tight ends. Right. And they're going to like the late running backs is like, oftentimes, like, are they going to make the team? Nonetheless, are they going to be impactful from a fantasy perspective? So it's really tricky at this time of year.
Healthy scratches all over the place down there.
Right. Exactly. And so LaQuint is one of the guys who I just started really taking quite a bit, specifically on the PPR sites, right? DraftKings and Drafters.
Yeah.
But like, even on Underdog in the 18th round, like, he's going to make the team. They've already said he's the passing down back.
Yep.
So there's like, that's like not super valuable on Underdog, but it's not nothing. Like,
it's not nothing.
In a pinch, he scores a touchdown in the first month, and you're like, well, at least I got a 10-point LaQuint game or whatever. And like, he is his profile is that of more of a passing down back, but he was a straight workhorse in college. Like, he like never left the field. He got all the carries and he just happens to be better in the passing game than he is as a rusher. But like, we like Rachaad White at a way heftier price. Right. And Rachaad White was awesome. Now, I'm not saying LaQuint is going to take that over, but let's just say C-Rod isn't it, right? The scenario where even if Tootin is, if C-Rod isn't it, dude, all it takes is like one missed game from Bashal Tootin, and you're like, holy fuck, dude, LaQuint just did all of it. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it reminds me a little bit of Isaiah Davis, where like he is just a passing down guy, but then when you see him play, you're like, why is he just a passing down guy? Because he seems like kind of like a running back to me.
Totally.
Like maybe not an amazing running back, but like I'm not like, it's not Naheem Hines out there.
Right. Yeah, like I don't think Josh Jacobs is an amazing running back either, but he gets all the work. So like, Josh Jacobs was a passing down back in college functionally, So like,
yeah.
It's like if he has the archetype, like I said, like Rachaad White, where even if he's not a good runner, he's big. He can play on passing downs. He can play on at the goal line. And obviously he can protect the passer and catch passes. If he can just like get what's blocked this game is straight chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And I want the guys who can benefit from chaos, because like they're just like, fuck, dude, we don't have anybody else. LaQuint, like, brother, for a month, we need you to play 70% of the snaps and do all the stuff.
He came in at 204 pounds, so he's not explosive. He's, Rachaad White, does kind of come to mind and he's not like quite as much of a playmaker in the receiving game.
Right, but if he's Rachaad White, you're like, this is fine. That sounds great in the 20th round of PPR, of PPR best ball or whatever.
Yeah. His
I don't mean to make it about LaQuint
29%, which is like horrendously bad.
Yeah, I don't think he's a good runner. To be clear, I'm not.
He's sort of like a smaller Alexander Madison might be a way to think about it.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I kind of I liken it to like the upside case. This is going to sound really fucking weird, but the upside case is sort of like Samaje Perine. But remember when Samaje Perine
It doesn't sound weird at all.
Was the backup to Joe Mixon? It's like no one was sitting here pounding the table that Samaje Perine was a good NFL running back, but he did the passing down stuff, and they were like, "Look, Mixon isn't playing this week, brother. We need you to do it, and you're in a good offense. We like the Jags, obviously. We have them 6th overall, and so it's like I said, I didn't mean to make this a long soliloquy about LaQuint Allen, but I think he's another beneficial. They have a bunch of pieces that, depending upon your flavor, that you can get access to this offense really pretty easily and cheaply.
Yeah, and in the 20th round, I do think he's someone to work. He's worth considering. I'm actually going to look at him and make sure we're bullish enough, just because there was like some Amir Abdullah talk of like, is he the running back 3? And that seems like he is the running back 3 pretty clearly. And
they straight up came out and said that LaQuint is going to.
He's the passing down back. Yeah, and it's a good offense. So he's like a small win guy probably, but like there is some very thin but still like realistic outcomes where
it's plausible. It's
very he has contingent value. Like it's a contingent play, but like the contingent value could be higher than we're anticipating because he does have. I mean, he's a smaller back compared to like Samaje Perine, who was in the 230s or whatever, but he's above 200 pounds. Was a total workhorse in college, which Blair Andrews has written about. That being an important signal, especially for later drafted backs. And, he's a 7th round pick, but it's like, he was functional at everything. He was a guy that a team could really rely on. And like, he's not fast and his breakaway ability sucks. And he doesn't really break tackles super well, but like he is reliable. They used him a ton in the passing game at Syracuse. And then he was, not a disaster efficiency wise, 1.15 yards per hour and is like fine. And he was like reasonably productive. So
there's multiple seasons too. This wasn't just like a 1 year flash in the pan. It was as a sophomore at Syracuse. He was the total work. He was 2-year workhorse in the ACC.
Yeah, his career backfield dominator rating is really good, 70%, which is awesome, and 89% peak, which is really strong. So, he's someone that is not like a huge part of the reason I like the Jags, but it's another, like, we don't have the super late round wide receivers that we have with like the Ravens, but you do have, that super late round running back if you want to tack him on, which maybe I'll do a little bit more of now that I'm talking through it. But yeah, the main thing is like Hunter is, one of my highest drafted players. I think he's just too cheap. Like, people don't even seem to care that he's been playing a ton with the offense and OTAs and stuff. Like, it's almost like we've just decided, like, Travis Hunter's not going to be a thing. Like, stop trying to make Travis Hunter a thing. Like, we don't even want to hear about how he's playing with the offense because it doesn't matter because he's a cornerback now.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but it sort of seems like he's a receiver from what they're having him practice and learn, like, or at least both, which is what I think, that he is going to play both, and that he'll be a really good best ball pick in the 130s and 40s and sometimes 50s. But yeah, so him and Tootin, I think, are both really, really fun picks and a core part of my portfolio this year. And often I do have them together or with, those guys in another Jag. So this is a one where I'm not taking as much of a quarterback, but still like being in on the Jaguars this year by having multiple Jags on a number of teams is something I'm going to, be prioritizing.
They are one of my highest drafted like teams because I take everybody, and I don't like Travis Hunter as much as you do, but he's also a guy. So you mentioned, like with Tez, I don't mean to compare Tez to Travis Hunter because that's not what I'm trying to do, but I'm saying he's also a guy who I haven't been as in on, but I'm also like I'm willing to follow and read the tea leaves and capitulate, especially at these prices. And I think that's something. Not to get off, we just did a random side tangent. What an Erik and Pat conversation. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and do 15 minutes on LaQuint Allen. But Travis Hunter, I think, is one of those guys that's sort of indicative of old me, 5 years ago me would have just been like, I probably would have been like, C-Rod sucks, stop it, never, not doing it. And I would have been like, Travis Hunter is a corner, stop it. Like, I'm not doing this. But through many, many mistakes over many, many years, I think being open to guys who you originally were not, super interested in, especially when you're getting good prices on them, is exactly how we should play this game. And that's what leads me to like my favorite thing about the Jags. I have them a little bit higher because despite the fact that we're excited about Liam Cohen and all the weapons and Trevor Lawrence hopefully continuing to grow as a quarterback, they are one of the cheapest offenses to buy in drafts. You can have Jaguar stacks, whether it's with Lawrence or without Lawrence. Because I agree, I really like Lawrence, but again, it's kind of like what you said about Lamar earlier. Like the quarterback window is like, I'm just not. I don't really feel the need to take a stand on anybody. Like, like look at all these guys we're going to talk about.
We'll get to a stand on taking.
I know. I fucking know. Yes. Well, there's two left that I'm sure that you probably like a little bit more than I do. But like Justin Herbert.
I don't know who you mean.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone listening knows who I mean. And if they don't, this is probably their first time listening to this show or any Packer Rain show. But
the only suspense is which one?
Which one? Yeah. There's two that everybody's guessing. Flip a coin. But like I mean, look at the list of the people.
One of those teams is not in my top two.
It's not. Oh, okay. I'm fascinated to see. I'm not. Maybe I won't take them just to make you make that decision. But look at the list that's like. So we just did Lamar, who's like in the 50s. We did Jalen Hurts, who's in the 70s. Great, both great. Trevor Lawrence in the 80s. Great. I love Justin Herbert. Dak Prescott is great. Patrick Mahomes is great, right? Drake May is great. Brock Purdy is great. Even then move down the list. There's 9th is Joe Burrow. 10th is Jaden Daniels. It's like, I want all of these guys. And so I'm drafting Trevor Lawrence, but I want to have stacks of, dude, all these stacks are fucking awesome. And they all happen to be in this insane quarterback window. Like this is the most insane quarterback window of all time. All the good ones go in that range. So it's very difficult for me to get significantly, like I'm overweight several of them, but I'm saying get like mega stand. Like there will be years, you and I think it was the year we started this show. You had like 50% Drake May. I had like 50% Sam Howell. It was like, dude, I'm building like a lot of my teams around the fact that I have.
I think Howell was the year before, right?
Was it? Was it?
I
thought it was the same year for some reason.
Was it the same year?
I can't remember. Honestly, can't. Sam Howell's so irrelevant.
No, it couldn't have been the same year because Jaden Daniels was in the Drake May class.
You're right. So it was the next year, but like we've had those years. Right?
Yeah.
No, dude, Drake May is such a good pick late that like I'm sort of adjusting my strategy.
And we were both sort of half right in
exactly.
Those.
It was totally half right.
The correct answer was actually Bo Nix that year, but also the correct answer is always Drake May. I mean,
my of course, and
better than Bo Nix.
And please, I know we've said this before, so people who listen to every episode, but it's so fun to just go back and rehash it because I'm like, both of us were so right about Sam Howell that it's like you could not dream it up any better. Your whole thing was like, man, dude, I don't know. He's not very good, and he's probably going to get benched. And I was like, I don't fucking care because he's going to score. I was like, I don't care that he's going to get benched. He's going to score a bunch of fantasy points. And guess what? He scored a bunch of fantasy points, and he got benched, and he is awful. He is absolutely awful.
Yeah,
at football.
I think I was riled up too because I had to hear there was just so much like no you don't get it. I'm not saying this was from you. There's like there was a whole Sam Howell contingent, many of whom I'm friends with, and so I was like, I just hearing a lot of like, you don't get how good of a quarterback this guy is. I'm like, this guy like fucking stinks. He takes sacks nonstop. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Sweating him that year was so fucking painful, but you just had to wait for the end result. And you're like, well, I got 24 fantasy points from this guy. It was hideous. It was absolutely hideous to watch. 6 sacks, 2 picks, a fumble, whatever. But you're like, I don't know. They threw the ball 48 times. So, whatever.
I also was just like, I wasn't into 3 quarterbacks at the time. And I was thinking like the guys that I do that make me more nervous are you can play well and still get benched.
Yeah.
I think through with like Geno Smith is a great example. We've talked about this, a month or so ago. Like, hey, Geno Smith can like actually play pretty well, but the Jets have a completely gutted defense now, and they're probably going to lose a bunch of games anyway. And so like he can be like, the 20th best quarterback in the league and get benched, which normally the 20th quarterback in the league doesn't get benched, but he does when Aaron Glenn gets fired in week 13, and
they drafted Cade Klubnik. Yeah.
And they drafted Cade Klubnik. And it's like, let's take a look at this guy. Or who knows? Maybe they have Sorsby they're taking a look at,
Oh, so, God. Don't get me started. We can talk about that next week or something. But this Sorsby, we're so bored in the NFL calendar that this Sorsby hype cycle is insane.
But that was a big part of it for me with Hal. But also, like, I'm pretty sure that I would have put all of my worries into the Sims, and they'd be like, take Sam Howell. Because as part of like 3 quarterback builds, like he very clearly was someone you want. I mean, he scored a bunch of points, but also he does stink, and I was right.
Horrible. Exactly. And I was also right. I got 12.
You were also right.
With shout out Lamar Jackson. Sam Howell helped me get Lamar Jackson through to the championship, and he cooked the Dolphins. But on the Jaguars, like, this is one where, do I think the Jaguars are going to be a better offense than, frankly, the 3 teams we have right below them? I do not. I'm excited for them. I think they're going to be good, but like, to give me the Ravens, give me the Bengals, give me the Eagles.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But they have one of the cheapest wide receiver ones. They have one of the cheapest RB ones, and they have a totally reasonably priced quarterback. They have one of the cheapest tight end ones.
Yep.
They have, if you like Travis Hunter, they have a guy who they took 2nd overall and won the Biletnikoff that's freely available in every single draft. They have 3 running backs who are draftable. If you like Jacoby Myers, he's after pick 100. Brian Thomas Jr. just went at the 1-2 turn very recently and is available, in the 60s or 70s as a, bounce back candidate. Yep. Like, they are so easy to stack, and like every single piece has upside. We all have our different favorites, right? Like, I like Parker more than you do. You like Hunter more than I do, but it kind of offsets it, because it's like, dude, you can have Jags whenever you want. They all have upside. The offense is not priced like an awesome offense.
The Jags are for everyone. Like, you can be a total Chris Rodriguez, boomer at the Sizzler and love the Jags. There's you get Parker Washington, you get Trevor Lawrence, you get Chris Rodriguez. You're like, that's a lot of Jags. I don't know if I should be taking this many of one NFL team, but okay. Meanwhile, I'm stacking up. I've got Brian Thomas, I've got Travis Hunter, Brenton Strange, take a little Quinn Allen just for fun, Bashal Tootin all day. Yeah, let's. I'm stacking without the quarterback. My version is I don't even have Lawrence, to be honest, and I've got 4 Jags without the quarterback.
He's got 4 Jags without the quarterback, and Drake May and Patrick Mahomes unstacked. That's like Kerrane's wet dream over here.
I'm like literally about to start a draft right now. Is the big dog full, or can I get in
there? But I think we like the Jags. I actually have them a little bit higher, but I think this is still a pretty good place. So you did them. I'm going to do at number 5, and this is genuine. I promise I'm not capitulating to Kerrane. I'm doing the Dallas Cowboys at number 5, and the only real issue, I know we always do the negative.
We start negative. We're going to start negative at number 1.
Yeah, exactly. This is my favorite stack. I want him on every single team. Here's why you shouldn't draft him. But truly, the only issue, and this is like a positive that's a negative, is cost. For the Dallas Cowboys. CD goes in the 1st round. George Pickens goes at the 2-3 turn. Javonte Williams goes in the 3-4 turn range, and Dak is in that quarterback window. That doesn't make Dak stand out. So I draft a bunch of CD. I like Pickens. I even take some Javonte begrudgingly. He'll fall sometimes, which is nice.
I just took him in the 4th, and it
I like him in the 4th, but it's one of those stupid
RB2 in the 4th. Javonte
exactly
Williams. Seems fine, man. I don't think it's bad.
I feel so much better when I take him in the 4th. It's like that doesn't really matter, but it does feel, it makes you mental health hack, right? The Ray Davis situation.
Yeah, although sometimes I will take like Javonte in the 3rd, like the 3-10, and then you're like, you tell me which receiver I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Room. I think that's fine too.
Yeah, because it's that wide receiver range is like I like all of them.
Yeah.
And so if I take Javonte, whether I get Ladd or Burden or McLaurin or what, it doesn't
Earl McMillan or
let
There's
me
a
have
ton of
whoever.
guys. Garrett Wilson.
Exactly. So it's not like that, but there is significant opportunity cost to Javonte Williams. There's very significant opportunity cost to George Pickens. There's very significant opportunity cost, of course, to CeeDee Lamb and going in the top the top 10. But I like them. I like Dak Prescott. Jake Ferguson is like the most Mark Andrews ass. If we're talking about tight ends in that range, that I think he's not washed like Mark Andrews. He just also was never as good as Mark Andrews. He benefits from being the Dallas Cowboys tight end, and that's great.
Yep.
And so I draft him. My
he had
boy,
1.2 yards per route run last year, and that wasn't him dropping off.
Yeah,
it's just like I don't know where he lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the real feather in the cap of the Dallas Cowboys for me is that I'm a huge Ryan Flanoy stand. That I can get this wide receiver who I think is going to be the wide receiver 3 and run a bunch of routes. And I don't need to rehash this. We did this right on the whichever other show we did a month and a half ago or something, where I waxed poetic about Ryan
I've started
Flanoy.
mixing him in a little bit at this point. It does seem there was some really nice quotes that came out.
Yep.
We read them out on ADP chasing. My ability to push back, I was like, that just sounds pretty bullish, actually.
Exactly. And again, the reason why you should listen to our show is the year he came out of everyone. So from where I'm from, we call it SEMO, but it's Southeast Missouri State. Everybody else, he came from Southeast Missouri State, and we did our 4-hour marathon rookie podcast, and he even came up during that show.
I remember
where I was like, this Flanoy guy is like kind of good or whatever, and he went in the 7th round, I think.
I remember because I was like, we should probably wrap it up within the next couple
once
hours.
Ryan Flanoy came up, you knew it was time to stop.
No, it wasn't.
It turned out
the halfway point.
Exactly. But I genuinely think he's good. To what degree is good, it's up for debate, and we have a very small sample. But like having the Ferg backstack option and having the Flanoy backstack option, and then we'll see what happens with the running backs. Right, I'm kind of in wait and see mode on whoever is backing up Javonte Williams, whether it's Blue or Maffa or Malik Davis. But we're going to have a cheap Cowboys running back that I think will be more comfortable taking here in a month or a month and a half.
I agree.
And so the backstack feels really good, but it is expensive. So I can't put them, like, really all these other stacks are not as expensive as the Cowboys. So as excited as I am for them, I can't put them above those other teams.
Yeah, like the reason I have them above the Jags is more like when I have CD, then I'm pretty excited to take Dak. Like that's where, right? Like that kind of like the premium element to it. And then when I have, so I'm doing a slow big dog, and I have CD Lamb and then Amari and Hampton, and then I grabbed Lad McConkey and Javonte Williams. And so I was like, this is super fun. Like I've got these quarterbacks, set up. I'm going to be building it through them. Couldn't be more excited to get either or maybe both of, Herbert and Dak. I ended up taking Jane Daniels in round 6. And then both guys didn't get back to me. So I didn't get either.
This is like the ballad of the best ball player is this. It's like Jaden Daniels fell, but I couldn't help but take Jaden Daniels. And then both of the quarterbacks I actually wanted 3 rounds ago didn't come back.
So I felt protected, and I'm like, actually this team. But the funny thing about it is like having Javonte and CD, I'm like, okay, like fine. Like I'll score plenty of points at quarterback with Jaden Daniels, and maybe I'll backstack him later with Chig or whatever. And I feel pretty good. Or like, you know what? Like I might take Jake Ferguson. Like who cares? Like I'm gonna keep betting on the Cowboys even without Dak. And yeah, so when I have CD, Dak becomes super fun. Pickens I'm not taking a ton of, which makes it a little bit tougher for the stack. And then Dak's more on the side of the board with Lamb, so it's not as easy with Pickens. So he floats around enough, you can do it. But and then I'm not backstacking as much as you are with Flournoy, but I am starting to be more open to it. And then I agree that like I think Jaden Blue probably, but it might be Maffa, and the fact that I don't know is why I'm not really doing it now. But like those guys, I think Blue is already in 20th round consideration on DraftKings. Because of the PPR element of his profile. But he's yeah, he's starting to be in the mix. He was, getting reps with the ones with Javonte out behind Maffa apparently, but still.
Yeah, Maffa got the first. Can we just do the Dallas Cowboys backfield stuff, and Brian Schottenheimer specifically is like, I'm not saying he's like fucking grifting us or whatever, but like this is what he did. Like he's going to hype them all up. I think again, tinfoil hat. What I think they want Jaden Blue or Phil Maffa to be the guys that step up. It makes more sense, right? They're the guys they drafted. They're the young guys. They have an upside that they haven't seen. But last year, what we saw is those guys did not elevate, and they had cut Malik Davis and they brought him back, and Malik Davis was the RB2, and he was actually quite productive. And so I think they're going to keep all four, as my guess. Like if we did roster cuts today, I think they're going to keep all four of those guys. But like we have no idea. They're not even in pads yet. Phil Maffa specifically really needs to be in pads to show what he can do. And Jaden Blue's always going to look good when he's in shorts and t-shirts, because he's a exceptional athlete. So we got a long way to go. But I think that they are giving those guys an opportunity to earn a real role.
They asked him about it yesterday. And this is per Coach Speak Index Discord. Which is, I'd recommend checking out. But Javonte Williams, they said, so this is from Schottenheimer, on Javonte Williams being held out of practice, quote, "We just wanted to give Phil Maffa and Jaden Blue a lot of work because we knew it was the last full speed practice. Javonte is in a great spot, looks great." So they literally were like, well, we know what we have in Javonte. Let's see if these other dudes can show us something and, have more of a role. I think it makes me. I'm getting like a little bit more nervous on Javonte, who I do take, and then not a ton, but so much of he is a volume based play, like classic volume based play. But
him and Jacobs and David Montgomery and all that,
it's all the same type of thing. But I think ultimately he will have a lot of the volume, but Jaden Blue could eat into it, I think, a little bit more. I'm not a big Phil Maffa guy. I'm not super worried about him, but Blue.
No one is a Phil. Show me a Phil Maffa guy, and I'll show you a fucking lie. He was a big Hunter Lepke guy. Remember the quote from last year? One of my favorite coach quotes of all time. He listed off every running back on the roster, talked about how they're going to go into the goddamn Hall of Fame, and he got to the end, and he just said, "And Hunter Lepke, baller," and that was all. That was all he said. I'm like, if that's not the most, like, that's the great. It's
so bearish for Blue.
I could talk forever about all of these running backs and the Schottenheimer effect, but he hypes his guys. I respect it, honestly. He gives them an opportunity and he hypes his guys, and they have definitely taken to Jaden Blue. And I know that you assuredly read the stuff about, like, they got to the end of the season meetings. You meet with every player after the season's over and all that kind of stuff. And he basically had to like
an asshole.
Like, you suck. You're not taking this serious. Like, you better take this shit serious, or you're not going to be on this team. And supposedly he has. So that's good.
It is good. Yeah. Kind of wish he didn't have to be told that, but it is good. I think I bet you I'd take Blue a good amount in August. But
agreed.
I'm gonna. He's more watch list for me right now.
This is the, you can do a watch list on your fantasy apps, or on ESPN or whatever app you're using. My fantasy league is still what my dynasty league uses. Like, you can put a watch list. Like, all of these backs are on my watch list for, like, as soon as I start to get an inkling, it's more solidified who's the next man up after Javonte, I'm fucking pouncing on this backfield.
I agree. All right.
Number 4.
I'll go next. Number 4. I'm sorry to do it to you. I'm going to say the Chargers.
God damn it. This is blasphemy. Go ahead. I'm upset.
I mean, look, this is 4th. This is not like 24th, but this is a team I'm taking my Chargers. I'm a little underweight Hampton, but basically even. I'm like right even with the field on Justin Herbert, which is we'll get to, is like hard because of who I'm also taking in that range. So I'm making sure to not fall below market on Herbert, even though I'm not really overweight. Ladd, I'm right at the market with. Trey Harris, I'm right at the market with. Gadsden, I'm slightly overweight on, but I've been taking a lot less recently. So like, there's not a lot of Chargers that I'm like, there's no single Charger that I'm like, this draft is to get this guy, right?
This is a good point.
But when I have Chargers, I'm like, Chargers are gonna roll. Like my chart, I've got to have, I haven't checked this, but like I've got to have a pretty high rate of I've got to have a low rate of one Charger teams and a high rate of multiple Charger teams. Like if I have one Charger, I probably got a couple Chargers kind of thing. So yeah, I think, and there's some cheap guys, Keaton Mitchell's not as cheap as I think he probably should be, but you can mix him in a little. I'm at 3% on him.
What?
Charlie? Yeah, 3%.
3? Well, you take all the early running backs. So
I think Keaton Mitchell is a largely a trap. I think if you need Keaton Mitchell, then you've probably built a bad team.
These are fighting words. Well, I hate to break it.
I don't understand the Keaton Mitchell thing. Like he's not
good.
He's a pick 135. He's fine. This is one of those propaganda campaigns that I'm like, what's happening? Like we did this with Gretsch, where he came on, he told us that it was the most exciting preseason highlights he's ever seen, and then he was like, "Wait, those are from the wrong angle. You got to see it from the end zone angle."
This is like, broken your brain. I'm not arguing that part. I'm not. There's no. That was not me. I did not. That was a propaganda campaign.
It was Keaton. Was Keaton.
But I didn't say that, and Mike McDaniel didn't say that. Just because Gretsch came on and gave the world's worst propaganda campaign in the 21st century does
not have been better, Gretsch.
Yeah, his delivery was very poor. But I believe in Keaton Mitchell. I have no problem with not being as excited as I am about him. But I'm not hearing this.
How many times do you think Keaton Mitchell scored more than 10 or more? 10 or more. You know what? 8 or more. How many times did Keaton Mitchell score 8 or more PPR fantasy points in 13 games last season?
I don't care. He's not playing behind Derrick Henry anymore. He's not playing behind Derrick Henry anymore.
He played behind Omarion Hampton, who Mike McDaniel reminds him of Terrell Davis.
And Keaton Mitchell reminds him of Devon Achane, who he turned into a second-round pick. He went and put wanted posters around the facility to get Keaton Mitchell. If there's anyone that's a propagandist, it's goddamn Mike McDaniel. He's the one who gets the call to
up for like 4 guys, and no one even remembers who the other guys were because it doesn't actually matter. And one of them was
Tyreek Hill, and another one was Devon Achane when he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Did they score some fucking fantasy points? Yes, you bet your ass they did.
Keaton Mitchell just could not be less Devon Achane. Like the idea that this man is Devon Achane is absurd.
I'm not,
and is not remotely connected to reality. Like, come on, he's not a good Devon Achane.
He's a good football.
He's a fine rotational explosion back.
Totally. But he was, I will say, I don't want to make this about. Well, we should do less minutes on Keaton Mitchell than we did on Luke Quint down.
I refuse.
He was. I do think one of the things that I'm fascinated to see, regardless of how it plays out, is Keaton Mitchell was a volume hog in college. Now I understand it's college. Right, those things are different, and it was East Carolina, but it was the American Conference, right? That's where,
and he's another 10 pounds lighter than Achane, who was absurdly small for a lead back.
But he's anyway.
Yeah, he's 179 pounds. He came in at 179 pounds. Maybe he's put on weight then, but I think Achane has as well.
He is, I think, can hold up to a little bit more volume than what he has been given. We just talked about the Ravens and Harbaugh's boomer tendencies. Like that when you have Derrick Henry.
Harbaugh with boomer tendencies. You think are there any other Harbaughs in the league, or is he's the only one?
Yeah, not the one calling the fucking plays for the goddamn Chargers. Mike McDaniel's the least boomer ever.
Boomer Harbaugh might want to play the running back they took in the first round.
Mike McDaniel, I draft Omarion Hampton. Okay, we're not talking about Omarion Hampton. You just said you're underweight, Hampton.
I was like by 1%. I'll get it.
I know this. So for everyone, I just want everyone to know we're recording this on a Friday evening, and so there's probably some slap happiness coming from me because I'm in the Midwest and it's getting dark outside. And he's slandering Keaton Mitchell, so I'm getting upset. I do genuinely think Keaton is a good pick because he has the potential to provide value on low volume. And there is I think he can hold up to more, specifically because of the Mike McDaniel fit. It's kind of like we talked about with some of these offensive coordinators with the Ravens and with the Eagles and stuff like that, like being serious. I think that the Mike McDaniel scheme and the way that he calls plays is sort of like, the island of misfit toys, that he sees value in guys that the rest of the NFL doesn't like. And he sees, he sees the ability for Devon Achane to be an NFL workhorse that we're like, what the hell? This guy's 180 pounds. That doesn't make any sense, And so I think that there's juice to be squeezed out of the Keaton Mitchell thing, because I do believe in the talent and specifically, like if Keaton Mitchell just re-signed with the Ravens or went somewhere that I wasn't excited about. But as you know, we did a show and like the Chargers are I have the Chargers number 2 on this whole list.
Yeah.
So like, I'm so excited about them. I'm also like, I think Amari Hampton is fine. I don't think Amari Hampton, I know he went in the first round of the NFL draft, but I don't think Amari Hampton is like some transcendent level running back. And I think that it's possible that, we get to later in the season and Keaton is eating into more of what Hampton does than what he did with Derrick Henry. So
it's possible. I think the thing with what Hampton does well, like he breaks a bunch of tackles. He's very consistent. He's one of these guys that you'd expect to, especially once he kind of gets up to speed in the NFL game, has actual offensive linemen, where he's just like churning out consistent gains. And then he offers enough in the passing game as well. To where he can be just like a true 3-down workhorse. Like a lot of the appeal of Amari Hampton is that he really profiles as one of these kind of classic 3-down guys, and then he's in a good offense. So kind of the type of guy who has a good season, and maybe we take him 4 picks higher than we're taking him right now. Like
he could be late,
probably
first.
Not.
He could be
late first.
He could late first next year. Yeah,
like a little Joe Mixon-y kind of vibe, where it's not. He's probably never going to be like the 101, but he's just like, and this is again why I'm not like hammering Hampton. I'm not like huge on Hampton. I think he's like a good player. But he's, I mean, I think the talent is like that he can do everything well. He can do some things really well, like break tackles. And he was a college workhorse. And I think is built to kind of be an NFL workhorse too. And that's why, part of the he's also like he's super athletic, like he's got juice. So it's his workhorse nature and the ability to play in the passing game as well. And then Keaton Mitchell not really being much of a receiver, he's more of just that explosive, kind of change of pace runner. At least what we've seen so far. Yeah, maybe they will.
He can catch the ball. He's not, but he's not
screeny type stuff.
Yeah. He's not Achane in the passing game.
I'm with you there. But it's like, I think and I don't really fully believe this, but basically the Keaton Mitchell bet is like Amari Hampton gets hurt for the whole year, and you're like, oh baby, we're halfway there. Like he's not great. The clean contingent bet. But Vidal would have a lot of work.
Here's a fun fact:
if Hampton went down,
I draft Keaton and Vidal on the same teams when I don't have Hampton.
Okay. How
about that?
I mean, it's as a bet against Hampton, but I think Hampton is just he's good enough to, and they have such an organizational commitment to him. It's a first round pick a year ago, and it's not like he fell on his face. Like it wasn't as good as we were hoping for where we were drafting him, but he was fine. And they obviously had huge offensive line issues last year, so I think that Hampton's going to be a major problem for. I just don't think they're going to be thinking much about Keaton. Those wanted posters are going to seem like a distant memory, I think, by like week 8. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Keaton's they'll still that explosive.
They'll still put them up. But
we're going to be putting them up.
Yeah, well,
we're going to be the ones putting them up.
I'm going to buy them on eBay and put them around my fucking office down. There's going to be one right here on the in week 10 or whatever. I'm going to put the wanted poster. Be like, Mike, you said you were going to use this guy, and I invested thousands of dollars into him. Where is he? Put him in the game, please.
I would draft Keaton Mitchell and potentially a lot of Keaton Mitchell if he were going later. It's not like I think he's some undraftable guy that we've pulled up. Like to me, it's just like he's a 16th round pick. Like this, I would be delighted to take him in the 16th round, but we've pulled him up to where he's going in the 12th round. And just behind running backs, he like goes like right before Keaton Mitchell goes. Like I've probably taken, my last running back for the draft in a lot of these.
I think he's the end of that tier, and there's a break after him. So that's probably where
I think that the tier ahead are like guys who, like JCM, Rashad White, Aaron Jones, Chris Rodriguez, Jordan Mason. These are backs who, like, without an injury, could be the lead rusher on their team.
Yep. I like them all better.
I do not think that applies to Keaton Mitchell at all.
I agree.
Okay. So that's why I have him in a different tier. And so it's like, well, now I'm kind of like, I'm forced to kind of start the next tier, a tier that like includes Tyjae Spears and stuff like that. Yeah. That's how I view him. I just think he's too expensive for the play.
Yeah. And I think we're hilariously, as tends to be the case, a lot closer than it probably sounds. We're actually kind of, we're in the middle of the hyperbolic fun.
Yeah.
Back and forth. But I think I'm just a little bit higher than you. And I do think there's scenarios where, this is, again, me cherry picking the single season where, because I am so excited about the Chargers, that you get like a Mostert Achane kind of season, where like they're both useful. And Achane was ultimately like an efficiency back.
He is a rookie. Yeah, it's the rookie season. Yeah,
and
he was a smash that year.
He was a smash, and Mostert was a smash, and Mostert scored 21. You could get Mostert plus out of Hampton, right? Like get an like Mostert was good that year, but like you could get like, oh no, this guy's awesome, and he's in this Mostert role, scoring 20 touchdowns on this awesome Chargers offense. Like Hampton can win, and I think also Keaton could provide value. And then does have some contingent value. I agree with you on Kamani Vidal too, but I didn't mean to make it about Keaton Mitchell, because I actually agree with like some of the things you were saying with the Chargers. Like, I want to target the Chargers, and yet no individual pick ever jumps off the board.
Yeah,
to you.
Yeah, like McConkey is the first one off. I'm not like I got to take McConkey, and Hampton doesn't jump. Like I'm taking Saquon over Hampton. I'm taking Walker over Hampton a good amount of the time. So it's like so then you get to, sometimes I get to Herbert and I'm like, well, I don't have any Chargers. And if you're more into Mitchell, or you're more into Gadsden, or you're really into Trey Harris or Quentin Johnston, who I also don't really take. I don't take Quentin Johnston much. So it's like the back stack on Herbert, you could talk me into it, but I'm not doing as much. So it's more like when I have Ladd, though, I'm like, or when I have Hampton, and when I have Hampton, I'm more likely to take Ladd. So it's similar to the Cowboys with me, where it's like,
yeah,
I'm in on the Chargers, and now that I'm in on the Chargers, like because there are outcomes where the Chargers just nuke, like, and I want to have teams that aren't just like little taste of Charger here. I got a little. Oh yeah, I had Charlie Kolar on this one. I hope that's the way to play it. Like, no, I'm having like full Charger stacks, a good amount of the time.
And I will just add, I am a Trey Harris truther, so that's also influencing my.
I'm stuff. 0.2% overweight on
look at
Trey
you.
Harris. 8.5.
He's cheap, dude. He's cheap. He's not. Every indication that we get, and again, this is not to keep using the propaganda word, but it's early off season propaganda. What are they going to say? Of course they're going to, like, every time Mike McDaniel talks about it's very Brian Schottenheimer. Every time he talks about a new guy on the Chargers offense, you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame, right? Like what was the quote he had about QJ like a month ago or whatever? It was like, he's like, it wasn't the Brock Bowers thing, but that's what it reminds me of like, this guy's like a mutant. He's going to be unbelievable. And I'm like, brother, I've watched Quentin Johnston play. Like,
yeah, he's not a mutant.
He's fine. Whatever. It's fine. But every time that's Mike McDaniel's shtick, is like, he's this kind of a funny, sarcastic guy or whatever. So that's what he's doing while simultaneously hyping up his players. But again, none of them like totally jump off the page. But as it pertains to Trey Harris, I do think there's still his ADP is being held back a little bit by the Keenan fears. I'm just speculating on the market, right? But I think people are still a little bit scared of like, well, they could just bring back Keenan Allen, and Keenan's a free agent. He's obviously been on the team for the majority of his career, but everything that they keep saying does not sound at all like they care about Keenan Allen. Like they keep reiterating, like, no, our top 3 wide receivers are Ladd, Quentin Johnston, and Trey Harris. We're super excited. Mike McDaniel even said something along the lines of, I liked Trey Harris as a prospect, and once I got to see him up close, like he's got even way more juice than I thought that he did. And that's what he was as a prospect. He did not show it at all, of course, last year, right? But that's what he was. He was like his measurables don't show it as much, but from a prospect profile, he was like this dude. Put him one-on-one with a corner on the outside, and he's going to cook the dude and be an explosive player. Like college corners could not handle him one-on-one. And so, I have no idea if he's going to be that, but I was a believer in him as a prospect, and it feels like a really good spot where I'm trying to get better at not overly fixating on a disappointing rookie season for a talented player that I liked, or even if I didn't like Matthew Golden, like I don't like Matthew Golden, but I'm willing to take some Matthew Golden because whatever, he was a first.
I'm not. He's not cheap.
And I understand that, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm like, I'm saying he was a first round pick. He's going to run routes on the Packers.
I do, yeah.
If I'm wrong about Matthew Golden as a player, there's clearly some upside, right? If the people who loved him are right and I'm wrong at pick 115 or whatever, like he's probably a nice pick. But with Trey Harris, I'm like, well, I did love him, and he's at pick 170, on this offense that I love, and he was a prospect that I loved. So he's a big reason why I'm probably, and I mean, we have him. You even put him 4th, so we obviously love them. But I'm just saying he's probably another reason why I like them even more than the market does.
Gretsch just wrote up this piece on like the difference between redraft and best ball, and I think Golden and Harris to me are big. Like those guys, kind of like. Because I agree with Gretsch that there's like huge differences between these formats, and they're probably like we're still probably under accounted for. And you and I have talked a lot about this over the years. Like, this is a different game. We're gonna kind of learn how to play this game over time. Golden is a redraft play. Like that's he could potentially hit as the Packers wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is pretty unlikely, but it is possible. But there's a lot of outcomes where you're like, I'm re-rolling this. Like this, give me another player from the waiver wire instead of Matthew Golden. This dude, like, he's the 4th target on the Packers, and I don't think this is going to get any better. So let me just try again. If Matthew Golden was going in the final rounds of drafts, though, you have a guy who might be the 3rd or 4th target on the Packers. And this is a format where rosters lock. I'd be into that. And I'm into the Chargers version with Trey Harris. Like that's where like that's where the roster is locking. Like we talked about there's not, I mean, part of it is the rookie class at running back stinks, but right now there's not as many of these running back dart throws we feel comfortable even being active. And they're like, hey, who's gonna be active? Matthew Golden and Trey Harris.
Yep.
So one of those guys, when that bet gets completely free, and then I think it becomes a good bet again. It's just that I think in best ball where you just aren't price sensitive enough on that player, where it's like it still hurts to draft Keon Coleman, in the 10th round in his second year. Like that'll bite you, and it won't bite you as much in redraft because and in fact, the mindset that gets you on a guy like Keon Coleman, even though it's gross, is basically like how you got Cortland Sutton's second year breakout. He was like an 8th or 9th round pick that year that, after not as bad of a start as Ken Coleman, but it was underwhelming. So yeah, I think the Harris play is one that if he were to move up and have some hype, I would just wave goodbye. But for as long as he's cheap, I think he's at least like a solid pick.
I totally agree. All right, that's the Chargers. Let's move on to the next one. And I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. I obviously know your 2 favorite teams. But number 3 for me is the New England Patriots. So I'm curious.
Also number 3 for me.
Oh, damn it. I was kind of hoping we would that they would like somehow be your number one. But obviously, again, they're the number 3 stack. We like them. I have the Chargers ahead of them, but splitting hairs. They're awesome. It's a great stack. They went to the Super Bowl and they were amazing last year, and all they did was add AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs to the team. Like, that's pretty fucking awesome. And we're not paying prices that are that prohibitive. AJ Brown is priced where AJ Brown is always priced, and this is probably an upgrade in situation. It's not worse. At a minimum, it's not worse.
It's definitely an upgrade.
But
right?
I mean, he's been pretty awesome. I think it's an upgrade. But I'm saying what a detractor would say is it was a 1-year thing for the Patriots, and they played the weakest schedule in the NFL last year. Right, is what I'm just saying. We have the number 3 overall. I'm playing devil's advocate, right?
Sorry, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some Advil.
Exactly. That's how I felt when you tried to slander Keaton Mitchell. This is what someone would say. But like, dude, these prices.
The Patriots put up wanted posters for the 2025 schedule.
We
want that again.
If there's wanted posters,
they get the Dolphins and the Jets twice. They still get that.
That's the beauty, is that you're like, and I've had that thought go through my head where like, okay, well, now they're going to play a first place schedule, and then you're like, well, yeah, but they have like the softest first place schedule that you could have, because they play the Jets and the Dolphins, and quite frankly, the Bills are a good matchup. It's a play. 6 of their games are awesome.
Yeah, so for a fantasy perspective, it's a great matchup.
It's amazing. So six of their 17 games, 6 of their 16
they get the Seahawks,
games.
but it's in week 1, right? They get the Jaguars, they get the Bears, they get the Lions, they get the Chargers. This is an insanely good schedule. They get then the Bills, then the Vikings, then the Chiefs, then the Jets, then the Broncos. This is a better schedule for fantasy points.
For fantasy points, for efficiency, maybe it's a little bit worse, right? But then that's why AJ Brown is there. That's why Romeo Doubs is there. Now we've added efficiency. We're not running Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams for all.
They literally have one scary defense on the schedule all season, and it's in week 1.
Yeah, it's a
they don't play the Rams or anything. Like they'll be fine.
It's a phenomenal run out. Drake May is awesome. I do think I draft AJ Brown. I'm going to be overweight AJ Brown. I'm going to be overweight AJ Brown and Drake May stacks. I think it is a fair, not just fair. I think we should bring up the fact that AJ Brown took a step back last year.
He did.
Can we explain it away? Sure. Right. Unhappy Eagles shit show. Like there's plenty of excuses to be made, but excuses are like assholes. We all have them, and they generally all stink. Like, it is what it is. We love to make excuses for players. Is it possible that AJ Brown is not the same AJ Brown anymore?
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. That being said, AJ Brown was still one of the best man beaters in the entire league, still at his like sort of reduced production levels. They have significantly better weapons everywhere. Travion Henderson now enters year 2, where like last year I sort of thought if Travion wasn't as good as I hoped he would be, and I think he showed the flashes of being that, particularly during the stretch when Ramondre was out, that I was like, God, the weaponry here is pretty rough. Like, if Kyle Williams isn't good, if Kayshon Boutte took a step, but like he's just a whatever, like a below.
I mean, they're literally like, they might trade him or cut him.
Yeah.
I mean,
It reminds me of the Chargers, but a better version, which is why they're one slot ahead of them in this regard. That like, if things go to like, if AJ Brown gets worse, it's like, well, they still have Doubs and Boutte. And Pop Douglas is a fine NFL slot receiver / like gadgety.
Hollins is a good depth receiver. I mean, he's not someone you want starting, but
Hollins is a great depth receiver. Like if Mac Hollins or Kayshon Boutte are your wide receiver 5, that's wonderful. Like that's amazing.
Hunter Henry's a solid tight end. Like they're
totally solid. Yeah. Like Hunter Henry, every year, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. Every year, you're just like, I think Hunter Henry's too cheap. And
Yeah.
it's like I think he's like more reasonably priced this year than he has been in recent seasons. But still, it's like he's just as good as Mark Andrews and Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert, and it's like he's in that tier. However you want to rank him is fine.
Yeah.
He's he's in the tier with all of those kind of older tight ends who are not superstars. And then you have this like, dude, I think it's genuinely possible that we look back and we're like, I know Ramondre was good last year, but Travion like fixed the flaws in his game. And you're like, this is a Gibbs Demont type situation that we have here. And oh, by the way, they have AJ Brown. And oh, by the way, they have Romeo Doubs. And oh, by the way, they have like, I think Pop Douglas can play. Like there's weapons everywhere. The defense is good, not great enough to where it's like a Houston Texans level situation where I'm like, they do have a little boomerish tendencies from Vrabel and McDaniels. Like they do have a little bit of like that, but I think that they're going to be like, they played the first place schedule is more fantasy friendly, as you said. Like,
yeah,
you can't play ground and pound against the Detroit Lions. You can't play ground and pound against the Buffalo Bills. You know what I mean? You got to outscore these teams.
And like the Lions, the Bears, I think like there are teams on their schedule that don't dick around, like that understand like, hey, I'm playing this version of the Patriots now that has AJ Brown and Dobbs and hopefully an ascendant Travion Henderson in May, still in just his third season. He has room for growth, even beyond what we saw last year. And so it's like, and their defense is okay, but I think, they brought in a lot of free agent additions last year that largely worked out, but might not be actually as good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
I could see the defense actually taking a step back this year, at least to a degree. And so the way to beat the Patriots probably is to go toe-to-toe with them if you're a team like the Lions or like the Bears, where you can also put up points. So, I mean, they could just be in a ton of shootouts this year going up against teams that, aren't going to be afraid to fight them. The funny thing is some of these like softer matchups like the Jets in week 16, the Jets might be just like looking to go home, man. They got a month left of this shit and everyone's basically fired at this point, and it's like Cade Klubnik, so you get 3/4 of May and everyone's pulled. And it's
Adonai Mitchell got his 11 targets and 3 catches for 38 yards or whatever.
Right. But in between that, you got the Bills have their issues where they don't always play to win. But I think this is going to be like for the division late into early to kick off late in the season. The first week of December they get the Bills, the Vikings. If that could be bad, I guess, but there's also upside for that. The Chiefs could be a big time shootout. Talk about another team that's willing to face teams toe to toe and try to beat you with their offense. And then the Broncos to close, who I think are going to be, they're talking about wanting to be more up tempo, and they're already passing a lot and talking about passing more, not less. So yeah, I mean, it could be a really fun. The schedule thing is actually like works in our favor now because like I'll argue, I'm sure if May has an awesome season that he should be the MVP, but like that's not how I make money.
Right.
I make money if there's shootouts and I have Patriots stack. I think with the Patriots, the reason that I had them 3 and you had them 4, so we were very aligned here. They weren't either our top 2. Honestly, part of it is that I can no longer just say draft Drake May. This isn't that complicated. Just go into a draft and you should come out of it with Drake May. Like, I am overweight Drake May. I have 14%, but that's not a massive stand, Even at quarterback, you can take bigger stands than that. And he's a guy that I am taking a lot of, but he's my 5th highest drafted quarterback right now. He's not someone I'm making a true priority. I take Jaden Daniels ahead of Drake May a lot of times. If I have the choice, I will often just take Daniels because Daniels is a true dual threat. I don't always do that because I do want to make sure I'm overweight on Drake May. I think he could absolutely nuke this season given the weapons that they now have around him. Like what he did, thinking about these weapons versus what he did last year with the weapons he had, like is kind of crazy. Like when I'm like, am I actually not bullish enough on May? Because like he was like the guy you wanted and didn't have any weapons. And now he has AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs is at least like a capable outside guy.
Professional wide receiver. Yeah.
Professional wide receiver. And then maybe Henderson takes a step and this is starting to look like an offense that's like one of the best in the league, like week to week, just scoring a ton of points. But it is like, yeah, Burrow's there. What if you got Chase Brown or T. Higgins or Jamar Chase? You're taking Burrow. You're not taking Drake May. So and sometimes what I'll do is I'll take Mekhi Lemon in the late 6th as like a wide receiver 3 because I am taking more of the running backs early, right? So I go like or I have Bowers, so I have two running backs in Bowers and then 2 receivers. And so now I'm like, let me make sure I grab a 3rd receiver in round 6, Mekhi Lemon, who I take a ton of, and I will take who's left between May and Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
So you can do stuff like that, and a lot of times that's Hurts because he goes later than May. So I'll let the room decide if I take unstacked May to that point. But I will do that because you can get Ramondre in the 7th if you take unstacked May in the 6th. You can get Romeo Doubs later. Hunter Henry's a good pick. I am taking a little Eli Raritan, last round kind of stab and more on DraftKings, but I'm mixing him in. And then the only other guy I don't really take a ton of right now is Travion Henderson. Just that 4 or 5 range I think is a little bit overpriced. To me, he's more of a redraft pick at that price. Where you're kind of like, I'm going to start someone else and it's fine because I can find a starter and I can have my 5th round pick sit for a few weeks. And, everyone else has got to pick their starters too. Like I'll be okay.
Yep.
In best ball, I think he's going to be more of I don't think he's going to have a positive advance rate from the 4 or 5 turn in best ball.
The counterpoint is, so I just did, I'm calling these guys, I did a specific episode on Travion, but it kind of came from what I'm calling like guys I'm eating my vegetables on, right? Or taking your vitamin or what, right? This kind of idea of I kind of don't love the price, but the scenario in which the season plays out in his favor, you want him. Right. Travion is like one of the guys to me where I'm like, I think the price is still a little bit crazy given what we saw last season. Like I take more Ramondre than I take Travion by a good bit, especially the way that I draft.
I have more Ramondre. I buy a good bit too. Yeah.
But in these scenarios where Travion just takes this leap and takes over this backfield, or Ramondre fumbling issues come back, or Ramondre gets hurt, you're like, you show up to week 17 or you just fucking have Travion on a team. You're like, yeah, like he's in the scenarios, right? Like when you win with Travion, the price is like almost
100%.
irrelevant.
It doesn't matter, but that's why he's more of a redraft pick to me because you're just swinging for those home runs and he could be a total home run. And like, also you could cut Travion Henderson, like and especially in like a shallower, like more like home league setting, like there are times where Travion Henderson's on waivers and it's the bye week and you're like, holy shit, Travion Henderson's here. I can't pick him up though because I've got 3 guys on by myself and
right. I need an RB2 to start and I can't fucking start him.
I can't start him. So So I mean, he has that like true boom bust quality to him, which in best ball, it's like the flip side of the scenario you laid out is that your team is awesome, but you don't advance because your 5th round pick didn't really score many points at running back. And there weren't that many it was hard to find running back points, past the top 10 rounds in this season, which does look likely, at least right now. Maybe later we won't feel that way as much, but when I think that ADP might roll around, I don't know that Henderson's going here. Like in the part of the season, the drafting season that we're thinking, hey, maybe in late August, we have a better picture of the late round running back pool. And we can find some running back points there. We're also going to be drafting in rooms with people who I think are going to be less inclined to take Travion Henderson than we are.
Agreed.
Right? Like these are Ramondre inclined drafters who are going to be like joining the party. Who's drafting in June? Are you more Ramondre or Henderson coded?
Yep.
Henderson coded, right?
We've learned we've learned to take Ramondre, and we are uncomfortable with the Travion price, but we're like, I still get it.
I'm not
He's
gonna
fucking-
fade Travion.
yeah,
Like
you're
yeah.
like he's still awesome, and you're like you can breathe. That month without Ramondre, like if that had never happened, we wouldn't be paying this price. Like not even fucking close. We wouldn't be paying this price. Look where RJ Harvey goes. J.K. Dobbins got hurt, but RJ Harvey didn't do anything particularly special while he was out. So you pay, pick 85 or whatever for RJ Harvey. For Travion Henderson, it was actually like a kind of damning end of the season for him. And yet he had that month without Ramondre where he's like, only Christian McCaffrey is outscoring him in fantasy. He's ripping off fucking 75. He's going full Saquon for a month. And you're like, and so now you can dream about that, right? And you can dream about growth. And there is precedent to, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is one of them where the beginning of his career was a split backfield, and you're like, we're excited about him, but he
was a second round pick though, heading into that year too. Like he was a
But
he had done a lot more.
There is precedent to like this was not what I hoped for as a
Gibbs
rookie,
was a little bit,
but this guy's clearly talented, and just I always say like growth isn't linear. Things can happen. He can get better at all the flaws, and they eventually decide like, we need to play this guy more. I'm not predicting these things.
No, I agree. I think for me, Travion Henderson isn't. He's not so overpriced. Like I still have 4% of them. I'm just annoyed by the price.
That's eating your vegetables. You're eating your vegetables. You're like, I hate this price. I'm pissed off that you're making me pay it, but I'm not going to have zero.
I'm not going to have zero. No. And this is maybe just cope and hopium, but bear with me. I think that we've seen a number of running backs take their turn being the last of that tier. The Swift kind of opened as the last of the tier. Price took a minute to get up into the tier, so he was sort of the last of the tier, going several rounds later in the very first BBM drafts after the NFL draft. Quinshawn sometimes falls, at the last of the tier. Tootin was the last of the tier before the foot injury to Rodriguez. I think that Henderson is going to take his turn and be the last of that tier. I'm not predicting that he's going to like fall down to like where Jalen Warren and Ramondre go now. Like he's not going to ever get flipped by Ramondre. I don't think that, but I do think that regularly seeing him in the early 6th on Underdog, and by the way, you do see him in the early 6th on DraftKings. Like that's already happening. That's part of the reason I think this is that I think Henderson drops to like the early 6th on Underdog, the slappier of the two sites, and to like the mid to late 6th on Underdog or on DraftKings when it just becomes clear that Ramondre Stevenson is like the quote unquote lead back. It's like, we love Henderson, but like Ramondre is, like the preseason snaps come out. I was like, Henderson rotated in behind Ramondre. He played like 30% of the snaps. Ramondre played 60% 70% of the snaps with the starters. I think we're going to get that, and I think that the market reacts to that, and the market probably should react to that because he is a little hot right now in price. So when that happens, I think I will get him cheaper than I am now, and I'm going to feel really good about getting my Henderson exposure then. And it's not just about like, well, I shouldn't have to pay pick 50. I should be able to pay pick 60. It's like the opportunity cost from picks 50 to 60. Like I like most of those running backs more. I think they're better picks. But if he were to fall behind all those guys, I'm going to happily scoop him up. Is like, hey, I want that running back there. A running back 3 in the 5th right now is something I'm kind of into. Running back 2 in the 5th for sure. So if I can get him at the 5'11", or the 602 or whatever, awesome. And I think that happens. And if it doesn't happen, the reason that it wouldn't happen is because I'm wrong about the preseason info that we get. And it's actually more like, oh no, like Henderson's this is at least a split, if not Henderson as the lead back. And then I will change my tune and I will pay the premium that I have to pay to get. I'm have to pay the new price. I'm happy to pay the new price. If you're telling me that, oh, you missed out, you could have had 4th, 5th round Henderson. Now he goes to the 3-4 turn. You blew it. I didn't blow it. I'm gonna draft 1,000 more teams in August. And a lot of them are gonna have Travion Henderson, so I'll be okay. And they're gonna be different texture teams than the teams that, maybe the answer is that you want them with Genti and Saquon and whatever else. Like there's, those getting them with the Flowers and the Garrett Wilson and the Tets, and that's the guys you need to pair them with, right? So I'm willing to kind of play it that he ends up falling to the other side of the board. At the same time, either rising or falling to the other side of the board. And at the same, in the meantime, I'm going to have my 4% exposure blanket.
I like it. I agree. He's such a fun, like, the epitome of like, how do you approach the game is because I think even the people who are Travion Bulls, like I think we both generally are, it's like really easy to go, he's way overpriced, right? Like this is kind of really crazy.
I think he's fine in like the main event where he goes in the same range. I think he's fine there. Like he is a pure upside swing, bet on an awesome offense, second-year breakout, showed the explosiveness is like really, I mean, he could be the most explosive back in the league, at least in kind of a straight line way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And, he can catch the ball. It's unfortunately like maybe not gonna be as big a part of his profile as you'd like, because Ramondre can do that too. But he was also, the nice thing about Henderson is you look at it back like RJ Harvey is just super inconsistent, like good receiver, explosive, but like the success rate. That's not Henderson. Henderson was perfectly fine as a success rate guy. He's not like especially boom bust, even though he is really explosive and does hit home runs. So, from who are the guys that I need to have, the stretch where you just like, you got to play Travion Henderson when it was like immensely clear that he was the dude to play that week and then delivered. Like he's very high on that list of players, that could be those guys. So I don't have any issue actually with him in the main event where he currently goes. It's just from best ball where I need, every week I've got to have running back points hitting the roster, and I got to know who they are now in June. Because everything's going to lock, and I'm going against optimized versions of all my opponents' rosters. That is where I do think he's just a bit overpriced, and I just think there's basically better bets that at running back. If I want a running back, he's not the guy I'm taking at the 502 generally.
I'm with you. All right, you go with number 2, and then I get number 1. This is fun. I like this.
Well, you get number 1, but I'm dictating it to you by selecting the number 2. So I actually think I have the more fun spot here. But I am going to take, I guess, Erik, for people listening and not watching, has left, and I don't know. Maybe he just can't handle how Chiefs pilled I've become, because I'm going to take the 49ers, and then Erik can tell us why he's so excited to take the Chiefs as the number 1 stack in best ball. But the 49ers for me are who I had number 2. I have them ahead of the Patriots. This is primarily driven by the fact that I have 18% Brock Purdy, and I'm drafting him at a higher clip than I am Drake May. He goes a lot cheaper. I will take Brock Purdy even if I don't have Mike Evans, but I do draft Mike Evans. I'm at 13% on him. He goes even cheaper on DraftKings. You can get him in the 5th on DraftKings, which I think is pretty awesome. You have to take him in the 4th generally on underdog, but I'm into that. And then McCaffrey, I take, when in the McCaffrey spot, I take McCaffrey. I'm right like dead even with him. I don't take Pearsall really, and I don't really take Kittle right now. I think the narrative on Kittle is kind of divorced from reality. Like he's probably going to miss a bunch of time to start the year.
Didn't you see him chugging beers at the Thunder game or whatever it was? Come on.
I think he's starting on pub.
What do you not to interrupt your first of all, if we're gonna peel back the curtain, we might as well peel back the curtain. I had to use the restroom, and so I ran. There's a restroom right over here, and I was audibly laughing when you were like, he's gonna hear.
He couldn't face me.
I couldn't. I didn't want to hear you take the 49ers, because the 49ers would have been one for me over the which is actually kind of crazy because I don't draft. So I shouldn't say that. I don't draft Christian McCaffrey in some of the main tournaments, specifically like best ball mania, but yet I love the 49ers, and I have started to dabble in George Kittle, but I feel very uncomfortable about it.
I have 3%, so I'm not like completely out, but I'm mostly out. I don't think.
I think the thing with Kittle for me is I feel like, so first of all, like I've already done 60 something BBMs and like 60 something DK Millie. So like, I'm more than a third of the way through. I can't get those teams back if I don't draft. Like I agree like with what you said about Travion 100%. But like in the main tournaments, I like if I want X amount of George Kittle, like if I just want to match the field, like I kind of have to take at least some now.
Right.
I can't wait till the end to take him. And there has been at least enough positivity. And I do.
There's been positivity. Yeah.
I generally take him on 3 tight end teams, or like I'll bolt him onto a Brock Bowers team where I'm like, look, if he's on pup, I mean, if Brock Bowers sucks for 6 weeks, then I'm probably screwed. Anyway, so I have come around. Originally, it was like full fade, not interested, don't care. Like this is nonsense. Like I honestly couldn't believe his price when the contest opened, but I've come around to it a little bit and thought about it more as like a late season hammer type thing. Even though the price isn't like late season hammerish, I'm like,
yeah,
like I have to build. Like it's on me as a drafter. If he is a good late season hammer,
right?
How do I?
You have to find a way to make it work.
How do I find a way? Yeah, exactly.
And I like the stack so much that I do have 3%. I'm like, yeah, this guy's he's like,
Right.
What? He's 32, coming off a torn Achilles, and I think people are miscalculating when they're going to see him. But I'll take a little.
Yep. Like I think this is dumb. I think everybody's wrong, but like it's George Kittle, and I can envision how this goes down the stretch, and I'm happy to have him in those scenarios.
Yeah, and I like I take Deshaun Stribling, who I'm at 16% Stribling, which I guess is like both a lot and not 30. Okay, don't make me like he's my highest drafted guy, but I've had to kind of carry the Stribling torch on ship chasing and stuff where he's
I haven't listened. Are they just endlessly telling you you're drafting a really shitty prospect?
Yeah, it was it was basically the debate was the most heated rate at the start of BBM when he was the cheapest, because I'm like, he's in the 200s. Like, come on.
33rd overall pick in the 200s is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, Jacob is a little bit more willing to zero guys out when he's just like, this dude sucks. Like, I'm not taking him. So that was, and then I was most
That's awfully
animated.
Rich for someone with 40% Rashad White to zero out sucky players and drop Rashad White on every team.
Well, he wants the Commanders starting running back, which I do too.
I dropped Rashad White. I keep we actually had a conversation this morning in the Spike Week Discord about Rashad White, where I always have to preface it like we're doing here, where we're like leading in with the bad stuff, where I'm like, I draft a lot of Rashad White. I like Rashad. I like Rashad White. I want to make that very clear, but I'm going to go through this nitpicking exercise because I need to do a sanity check. Like, remember it's Rashad White. Remind yourself it's Rashad White, and let's nitpick this thing to see if we're like getting it wrong. And ultimately, I don't really think that we are, but it's just very funny because we're all like, yeah, Rashad White, sign me up. He's fucking terrible at football, but give him to me on all my teams.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Rashad White is proof that we are playing best ball correctly. Like the fact that he's not cheaper is like even though if it doesn't work, like we understand the game we're playing. I'm at 15% now. It's just like it's not like 42, 20. But it feels like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Stribling is a player that it just makes sense, especially when he was completely free, to be overweight on. Is still a good pick. And if I have Purdy, I'm gonna take Stribling, more often than I would for sure. Like he definitely, to the point where like I kind of want my Stribling to be with Purdy at this point now that he's in the 160s. When I have Evans, I'm excited to take Purdy. And then look, man, I'm taking some Christian Kirk, 18th round.
Dude, I can't believe I'm excited that you're saying this. And this is another disgusting thing, especially piggybacking on Rashad White. I was going to ask you, like, I think Christian Kirk is a perk. Like, he's a feature, not a bug of the San Francisco 49ers. And I can't believe we're making it to the end of this marathon, this Oregon Trail ass marathon that we've taken on this. And it's going to end with like, I think Christian Kirk is a good pick.
Oregon Trail was hard, and I didn't in the computer lab in my elementary school when I was playing it. You had like limited hours to do it, and so I'd get I'd like want to beat the game, so I'd get to the end, and you get to the bridge, and I was paying the toll just to get across because I was like, I'm gonna win the game. If I can pay the toll, which I have money enough to do because I'd like dutifully saved for the toll later. I know the toll's coming. So I'd have the money and then I'd pay it and I'd be like, you win, da, da, da. And then like I saw someone else like raft the river. I was like, oh, that's the boss level of this game. Like the whole point of the game is to get to the river so that you can raft down it successfully. I was like, why the fuck am I paying the toll? I'm like missing the best part of the game.
And that, my friends, is Christian Kirk on your 49er stacks. The rafting over the river at the end of the Oregon Trail.
You have landed the plane. You have a good team. All you have to do now is take Dontavian Wicks or A.D. Mitchell. Just get a guy who's kind of interesting. He's not completely washed. He's not a useless pick. Or you could raft the river with Christian Kirk and tack him onto those 49er stacks. And which one do you think I'm doing? Once I realized the joys of rafting the river, I never looked back.
I thought I was going to have to. I genuinely feared the 49ers conversation. I'm not kidding you. Because I thought I was going to have to like go to battle over like, I think Christian Kirk is a good pick, dude. Like, it doesn't make me feel comfortable, but like, and I'm not trying to pattern match. I'm not trying to just look at last season, but look at what the San Francisco 49ers can do. Look at what Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and everything can do for these mid-ass veteran talents from a fantasy perspective. Like Kendrick Bourne, DeMarcus Robinson. Like these guys are pretty. I'm still not honestly sure. And I draft Juwan Jennings. I'm excited about him on the Vikings. Whatever. I'm not sure that he's any good at football. And
he's good at blocking.
Yeah,
he's definitely good at blocking because that's how he got in position to
slow tight end for a wide receiver. But like, I think the 49ers system just breeds. If you just have the bar,
I want to invest in the 49ers, man.
Is so fucking low, and Stribling might suck.
He might suck.
Like, I draft Stribling too. He might suck. And who is a fucking smash if Stribling sucks? Christian Kirk. Like, obviously Mike Evans, we don't got to get it, but like there's so many pieces on this offense that could be like absolute fucking home runs in drafts. And Christian Kirk is somehow one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take what I said. Kirk is someone I'm mostly like. The Sims don't love Kirk; they like him. Okay, he's like normally like when I take Kirk, it's often
you probably have Stribling projected. Like you're like splitting it down the middle between Stribling and Kirk, or how are you guys projecting?
Well, it's like a range of outcomes type of thing, and Stribling has a lot more ceiling than Christian Kirk when you think about it, right? So but Kirk. First of all, you will see him recommended on Sidekick, but not as much as I'm taking him. If I get down to the final rounds and I have Purdy and Kirk's in the mix, like he's like the third, and then often it's showing me like 4 wide receivers and Kirk's the third on the list. That's where I'm like, okay. Because I think the problem with Kirk is that like the floor is nothing. Like he has just been, he was at 1.16 yards per route run last year. And so it could just be like Stribling's the dude quickly. Kirk is ahead for like 5 or 6 weeks, but like peaks at 6.7 fantasy points and, never scores a touchdown. It would be funny if he scored a touchdown and had 6.7 fantasy points. one catch for 2 yards and a touchdown.
That would be very impressive.
Do it, Christian.
The Brock Wright. That's the Brock Wright.
That's a Brock Wright ass line, yeah. But like then Stribling takes over, or they're literally, I don't know where Kendrick Bourne, what he's up to. Maybe they sign him again. Whatever else, they just like figure out another option because he's that washed. Like that's very much in the range for him. But I want to when I'm betting on the 49ers, I want to bet on the 49ers, and Kirk or Stribling is going to be a pretty key part of the offense. So I've taken them together too. When I'm down there, I'm like, you know what? I spent like a 16th round pick on Stribling, and I'm gonna take Christian Kirk in the last round, and I have the 49ers slot receiver, and the 49ers offense is really good because I also have Purdy. I'm not doing this without Purdy, to be clear, but yeah, I do that a little bit. I guess Stribling's now up in the 14th round, so I lied about the 16th round, but whatever. I've been taking Stribling all along the way, and he's risen since the beginning. You're muted.
Okay, I can hear you. Sorry, lost my AirPods, and now my dogs are freaking out because every time they know when the AirPods come out.
Oh, that you're done.
The show is over, so they're like, okay, it's time to we're gonna go for a walk. It's time to go for a walk, and I'm like, oh no, you got to wait about an hour and a half more. We got one more team to get through. But no, sorry.
I was just saying, I sometimes will take Kirk with Stribling when I
totally
have Purdy. Yeah,
buy a what and like. This is the beauty of best ball. It's also easy. It can be a trap sometimes, but like you don't need every pick to be a home run, and spending 2 cheap picks on what is very likely to be at least one useful player is a genuinely good thing. And there are paths to them both being useful players. Like you just said, you don't really like Ricky Pearsall. George Kittle tore his fucking Achilles last year. Christian McCaffrey got 1 billion targets last year, and that is probably pretty unlikely to reoccur. Mike Evans is older and got hurt multiple times last season. Like there's a path to I think that's the beauty of the 49ers and why they're so good. Is Purdy so affordable, and they're outside of Christian McCaffrey, they're all really affordable, and like I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, I think it's all like the ADP is correct on the 49ers in terms of ordering and stuff like that. But like, if you are out there playing football for the San Francisco 49ers, you are probably going to score fantasy points, just, assuming, and even if Brock Purdy isn't healthy, like Kyle Shanahan makes magic happen with anybody back there. Like there's just so much juice to be squeezed out of this whole thing. Other teams are 1 lemon. There's like you get like 6 of them with the 49ers.
It's easy to imagine like you're paying like Kirk has a $4,200 salary. So it's not like he's been crushing. But you're playing him this week in DFS.
100%. You're like Ricky Pearsall has a concussion and Mike Evans hurt his shoulder or whatever. You're like, I think Christian Kirk is the best point per dollar play on the slate.
Yeah.
On DraftKings. And again, in best ball, like, sure, you'd start him in your redraft league that week. But in best ball, like, we don't have to pick, like it doesn't matter,
He just slots right in.
Right. Like, if you obviously
those 6.7 weeks, just hit your lineup,
Yeah, and you're getting him in the last round. It's beautiful. I will also the 6.7 weeks. I didn't even catch it. I know. I didn't even catch it. And also the fact that it was 6-7. If my niece were here right now, she would have been screaming at me.
That is probably why that would popped in my head that I said that.
She's very young, and so I don't think that's cool anymore, as far as I can gather. But she's still at the age where that's still funny to the little ones, and to the amount of times that like 6-7 comes up in your normal conversation and she will not let it go is it ingrained.
The neighbors had a pumpkin carving competition, and like the neighbors' kids, it was like a ton of kids at this party because they got 2 like elementary school age kids, and all the children banded together and carved a 6-7 pumpkin. So I know that that dated it for me, that we're talking about a last fall phenomenon. It's been almost a year since that.
Last thing
of our lives somehow.
Yeah, Jesus. Last thing on the 49ers.
And we moved on to healthier things, like a guy hitting his face with hammers and
right. We are not growing as a society. Somehow technology keeps getting better, and we get dumber. We are getting much dumber as we talk about Christian Kirk and Kendrick Bourne and LaQuint Allen. But just the last thing. So, like I said, I don't love Christian McCaffrey. I don't want to I've talked about it a lot already this summer, not necessarily you and I, but he's off his highest volume, certainly his highest volume. I'd have to go back and look, like year 3 or whatever was like an insane volume season. But last year was essentially his highest volume season of his entire career. it's right there with his highest volume season. And obviously the history of guys getting that much volume the following year is not bad. That's a little pattern matchy-ish, but also there's some relevance to it. And of course, they played an extra 2 games in the playoffs, so that's a concern. He's older. He's sort of another pattern match. He's been an every other year healthy guy, which is kind of funny. We're due apparently, it's been red and then black and then red and then black. So we're about to hit red again here in 2026 for Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, I don't believe in any of that, but I do believe, this is an aging back who took a if we're going to call out AJ Brown for an efficiency dip and a performance dip, we have to call it the Christian McCaffrey rushing efficiency dip. I still think he's the best wide receiver or the best receiver amongst running backs in the NFL. He's spectacular.
Yeah, but the rushing stuff was bad.
Was really, really bad. And they say this, and NFL teams say this all the time, like we would like to take a burden off of Christian McCaffrey as a rusher. I do actually tend to believe it a little bit more this year than in the last couple of seasons. And sometimes what happened last year is everything went to shit, right? Like all those guys were hurt. No, there's no Debo, there's no Ayuk. Kittle gets hurt late season. It's like, what the fuck else are you going to do? Like Christian McCaffrey has to be the focal point of everything that we do on offense. Now they add Mike Evans. They do have Pearsall. They draft Stribling. They bring in Christian Kirk. I do think they would like to take some of the burden off of him in terms of not playing 90% of the snaps. And I think that the market is just we don't care. We don't care about any of that. I don't know who it's going to be. So I understand if you don't want to draft Jordan James or you don't want to draft Kalen Black, but I think it's over for Garendo. And I think one of Jordan James or Kalen Black are going to be the backup and probably get to play a little bit alongside, at least in the early season, alongside Christian McCaffrey. And then obviously there's contingent value with those guys too for a late running back pick.
James, I'm getting ready to draft. I think he's getting very close to where it's kind of time to start mixing.
They're speaking pretty positively about him. Shanahan even spoke. What I thought was the most notable, I don't know if you thought this as well, was when he got hurt last year, and when he came back, he actually got touches in the playoffs last year. I don't know if people remember this because it doesn't show up in your regular season fantasy stats and stuff. He sort of took Brian Robinson's job in the playoffs, and Shanahan came out and said yeah, I'm a little bit upset. I'm paraphrasing. I'm a little bit upset that I wasn't able to get Jordan James more touches when he came back because he was ready to go and we're really excited about him. And I thought that was a really under the radar thing, and then obviously they draft Kalen Black, which makes that seem weird. But I liked Jordan James as a prospect, and I did not like
Me too.
Kalen Black as a prospect.
Neither,
I've drafted some Jordan James, and I think we could look back on how does late running back make a difference? And guys like him are some of the reasons that it could.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them. And we just moved him up recently. I've been mostly doing slow drafts over the last few days, so I'm not sure, because I think we literally just in the last, I don't know, four days anyway, moved him up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be really taking him a ton yet, but he's in the mix in the last round, kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
He's at least worth considering now. It's still possible he's not the running back 2 there, and taking the running back 3 on a team with Christian McCaffrey is probably a good way to get a 0. But if he is the running back 2, there's obviously contingent upside, and there's maybe the potential for him to hit your lineup a couple times when he scores a touchdown. I'm talking
in a
gives you
Tyler
11
Algier
points or something. Yeah. But I mean, he's the thing I like about Jordan James, and the reason that I'm gonna probably try to be front running the news on him, or maybe not front running it, but just acting quickly on positive news on him, to where I might be more skeptical on a player I didn't believe in as much, is that Jordan James has some real flaws to his prospect profile, but the thing that he jumps out as is just super consistent, hits the right hole kind of guy. And one, I think that's just something that coaches like. It's a good way to earn more playing time. 2, it's a good way to earn more playing time if the guy ahead of you is, arguably the best receiving back of all time, but is falling off as a runner.
Great point.
Right? Just be consistent. And, that's how he can kind of get on the field and, not force a split by any means, but just like, that's how he poaches a couple touchdowns and hits your lineup. And, McCaffrey stays healthy, but Jordan James still wasn't a true zero kind of thing. Or maybe he isn't a contingent value smash, but not until week 16.
Right.
Like how, and you're on the bubble to get through, and Jordan James helps you twice. He scores 13 for you and during the bye weeks when you really needed it. And then he's also the guy you kind of have to have in the, week 16 to get you through to the final, something like that. I could see that. Also, I could see Kalen Black being the number 2. So,
totally.
But it's like he's like watch list, but very much like priority watch list / I probably will start taking him some on DraftKings. He's right along Jaden Blue, where I'm like, I think we have enough to maybe take him now. Not like hammer him probably, but he's a guy I'm thinking more about. And again, like if I get additional positive news, I will be quick to move him up even more. But yeah, the obligatory running back 3 talk is complete. Do you want to tell us about our number 1 stack?
Yeah, number 1 stack. As I said, I did laugh, but I was depressed that it is the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't imagine Davis is going to watch this, and I hope that he doesn't, because it's not going to help anything that's been going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I have zero problems calling them the number 1 stack. I think if you played fantasy for sure for years, but I feel like if you played best ball for years, the Chiefs stuff has been so funny year after year after year of like, we all know the Chiefs are a good offense. We all know Patrick Mahomes is probably going to end up being one of the best quarterbacks of all time. We love Andy Reid. They used to have Tyreek and Kelsey, who were both first-round picks. We did CEH at the 2-3 turn. We have both at times been right about saying the Chiefs offense is so good, we want to pay huge prices for these guys, and we've been wrong a lot. I'm not trying to call you guys out. We did the Sky Moore in the 8th round thing, right? I did Kadarius.
That's a good process, but it just didn't pan out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. That's what I say when I look back at my like 15% Kadarius Toney in the 7th round or whatever.
Oh
right?
man, that was a legendary Sickos era debate. That was
yes. And
I had one. Who was I?
I think I'm ready to wave the white flag, by the way, on Kadarius Toney. Not in.
I had a guy that I was taking in that range too that was bad. We each like had dueling bad picks there.
Was that the year of the Bateman line? Do you remember?
I think the Bateman line was the year before, because I think the Bateman line was the same year as Sky Moore.
Yes, it was. So the next year. Yeah.
So it was the next year.
Tony was the year before. Yeah. We've definitely speculated on Chiefs collectively to a degree that was probably not just wrong, but like unhealthy, frankly, where we're just like Chiefs go Burr, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's been driving so much. And we have finally reached a point where you could make the case that that's happening for Ken Walker, but I think he's totally fairly priced, where we're not doing that anymore.
No, we're not.
We're not saying it's the Chiefs. I don't care. I'm drafting everybody that's a Chief, probably multiple rounds too high, because it's the Chiefs. And all we do is wish cast and speculate on the upside. And it's finally the first season in best ball history where Patrick Mahomes is priced affordably, and Rashee Rice is like one of the better wide receivers, at least for fantasy. And I understand the knuckleheadedness that is Rashee Rice. Like, he just got out of jail. I'm well aware of the issues, but he's awesome for fantasy, and he's going to be healthy for the regular season. And we're getting a discount because he's an idiot.
Yep.
And frankly, someone could make a case for Ken Walker at the end of the first round, and I don't think I could really I don't think I could rebut it.
Main event team with Davis Maddock. We just took him ahead of James Cook.
I don't think it's crazy. Travis Kelce is pretty washed, but as you just said earlier, maybe a little less washed than the other washed veterans, and even at his washedness, he scored fantasy points last year. It's like we all watch him and we're like, this ain't the Travis Kelce we came to know and love, but he still scores fantasy points.
Yep.
And then Xavier Worthy was a guy we were taking in like the 4th round. And now he's outside of the top like 110. Right. And so now you're getting paid that price. It's like, why is Matthew Golden a difficult click? It's like, I can just take Xavier Worthy on the fucking Chiefs. He was also a 1st round pick. He was I had skepticism about him as a prospect. I liked him better than Matthew Golden.
I liked him a lot better than Matthew Golden. Like
There's no,
he broke out as a freshman.
There's no, exactly. He broke the combine records for 40 time. Let me know when Matthew Golden does that. The spoiler, he won't because he doesn't get to go back to the combine. The Tyquan Thornton,
and his 40 time was fake. They started at the wrong time.
Exactly. Tyquan Thornton is. They keep telling us, by the way, Tyquan Thornton is the wide receiver 3 on this offense, freely available in the last round of every draft you'll do this entire summer, probably. I don't even think it's absurd to draft you said re-roll earlier. I like that. To re-roll Jalen Royals now. Hollywood's gone. I like Jalen Royals as a prospect. If Worthy is not it, if Tyquan Thornton is not it, there's a guy that you can also draft who is like 2% drafted at best in all of these tournaments. Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson was my RB2 in this class from a prospect perspective. Like, he's might just be the pass catching back for the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's I'm not taking a ton of him right now, and he's not like Blue or who's the other dude we just talked about that we like?
Jordan James,
thank you. So Blue and Jordan James aren't really being drafted right now by anybody, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll start drafting them in the final rounds. Emmett Johnson does get drafted. He's more like Katron Allen or Nick Singleton, where I'm like,
yes.
Are we sure this is correct that he's getting drafted?
Yeah.
Like we maybe like this might be the DJ Giddens play, where he's like always getting drafted, but actually is useless all year. But I am taking a little bit. I'm at 2%, and he would be someone that I just like get a lot more comfortable with. He's gonna be close to 100% drafted, so it's not ideal from that sense, but he could just be a really good pick where he goes. Mm-hmm. So I'm open-minded to making him, one of these priority late round running backs if we get a little bit more info.
It's honestly, I mean, I love Rashee Rice at the price, but it's not even just like any individual player, because you can poke holes in any of the individual profiles, right? But it's when you zoom out and you say, this is Patrick Mahomes, who's already practicing. And if you want to put your Twitter doc hat on and you watch him, he looks fine. He's got a knee brace on, but he looks fine. And I'm honestly stunned. In May he's practicing.
He's apparently rehabbing like 7 hours a day. He's constantly like living in the facility.
He is an insane person. Like he is.
Yeah, dude.
You got to respect him. Yeah,
dude. I don't think. I mean, like Mahomes. It's like he's just this like super. He's so talented, and dude, he's also a football psycho. Mm-hmm. He's a football psycho like Brady was. Like it's.
Yep.
He's putting in all the work, doing all the stuff that you got to do to be like a super high level quarterback in the modern era. Like he does all that stuff. Like it's not like he just, like I know he throws sidearm and that's sweet, but that's not why he's Patrick Mahomes, Like I don't know. I think people are just sleeping on the fact that like, hey, it's Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Like this guy probably won't go down as the GOAT. But he could, he's got to win. He's got to win a few more Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's only because Brady exists.
As a non-Brady GOATs go, he's probably, he's up there with anyone else. So
it's like some people don't think LeBron is the GOAT because Michael Jordan exists, and that's a totally reasonable stance to have. But it doesn't take away from LeBron's greatness.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and we're finally. It's this whole thing is price plus the offensive system plus the quarterback plus right. And they check every single box. Like they check every single box. We could nerd out on like, here's their pass rate over expected and all that kind of stuff. And of course that's part of it. But I don't even think it's that complicated. It is like, dude, if you've been drafting the Chiefs every year, as most people probably have, this is literally what you've been waiting for. 2026 is what you've been waiting for to get this discount. And it's frankly because Xavier Worthy hasn't been quite as good. And it's like this crazy fucking culmination of all these totally insane events that have all come together at once. Mahomes tore his ACL. They disappointed for the last multiple seasons, but let's call it 2. They disappointed from a fantasy sense. They disappointed at their cost for the last 2 seasons. And Xavier Worthy hasn't quite lived up to the hype of the first round pick. Travis Kelce's getting older. And then Rashee Rice is a fucking moron, right? So like you combine all of those different things and everybody's just like, I don't think I want to go to as crazy on the Chiefs this year. And it's like, that's when you go, that's literally
that's when you go crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. And Mahomes, what was like 2 or 3 years ago, he fell to, I think, the 6th round coming off a disappointing season and just absolutely smashed that ADP. You know, that's the previous like low point that we've gotten for Patrick Mahomes. And now we get this like brand new, you know, kind of insane low point on him that, yeah, I mean, it's wild. Who do you think in terms of EPA per game last year? Who do you think had higher, who do you think finished higher in that metric? Patrick Mahomes or MVP Matthew Stafford?
Obviously Mahomes leading the witness.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Patrick fucking Mahomes.
And they almost go, and for multiple years we've been saying, and I don't think we were wrong about this, Stafford is not a fantasy target because it's like, yeah, you know, he'll throw some touchdowns, but he doesn't run. They run a lot inside the 5, all that kind of stuff. And then Stafford had the crazy touchdown outlier season, and he was awesome. The Rams are awesome. We have the Rams, 12. Like, no one's arguing that the Rams aren't awesome. They're the Super Bowl favorite, I think. Like, they're great. Mahomes goes at like what, pick 90 something, and Stafford goes in the early 100s. That's fucking laughable, dude.
I know, man.
That's absolutely insane.
What about Mahomes or Josh Allen last year?
Is it really Mahomes?
No, it's Josh Allen. Come on.
I was about. Oh my god.
What about Mahomes or Drake May?
Well, Mahomes.
It was Mahomes because this includes the playoffs, and Drake May fell off in the playoffs.
And Drake May was really not good in the playoffs. Yeah,
really not great in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean,
probably stop fumbling. Can you tell your boy to stop fumbling every time he gets hit in the playoffs? What the hell?
I'll let him know. Yeah, Mahomes was 3rd last year in EPA per game in the year where we, you know, it's like, oh man, this Chiefs offense, they hit the wall. Like, they kind of did hit the wall because what we expect from them is so outsized compared to other offenses, and they weren't that, but he was still very efficient by like normal people standards, and they pass a lot. So one of the reasons I look at EPA per game instead of per play is that I think it's really helpful when you have a quarterback who you can load up with passing attempts. You don't have to like constantly manage. And that's, you know, where you see
per play is taking out the volume type stuff and like the load that goes on the yeah.
And I think it's a skill to be able to handle a bunch of dropbacks over the course.
Right, like Sam Darnold can be really effective from an EPA per play perspective, but it's also because they're sort of hiding and scheming stuff.
Yeah, the whole thing is like this like Rube Goldberg machine. Like
instead of putting the whole burden, it's like you know, I make basketball references or whatever, but it's like people will knock Jalen Brunson. You know, they just won the NBA championship for like efficiency or whatever. And it's like, did you watch? He has to do absolutely no shit. He only shot 40%. Like he has to do absolutely everything. And that's like, oh, this other guy shot 50%. Yeah. He stands in the corner and only shoots wide open jump shots.
Right.
Like, no shit.
Yeah. Are you a role player or are you the dude? And it's, you want a quarterback who can be the dude. And so that's, you know, so this is rewarding Patrick Mahomes for that, which is why I prefer this metric. But, you know, it's, again, like, this is a team that passes the ball a lot, and they have Eric Bieniemy now as their offensive coordinator, who's probably one of his biggest weaknesses is passes the ball too much. So I don't think the Kenneth Walker thing signals a shift to like a run first team. I kind of think that's a little silly, to be honest. Like they've never been that. Reed has never operated like that ever. He's, you know, in an era when it would have been totally natural for him to run the ball a bunch. He never really did. You know, it's not like he's absurdly pass heavy all the time, but I don't know. I trust Reed for that, and I trust Bieniemy for that, and I think they'll just be more effective with a running back who isn't Isaiah Pacheco or the most washed version of Kareem Hunt that we'll probably see in the league. So I don't know. I don't, dude. I at one point was over 40% Patrick Mahomes in my drafts. I like cooled off a little bit because that felt a little nuts. I'm still at 37%. And I think that is a rate at which I will probably like I think that 37 type of percent is going to hold up unless he rises.
One out
I
of
think
every 3
he
years
does
drafts or
rise,
whatever.
though.
I think so too.
I think people aren't just believing maybe the timeline on him, but it seemed like for him, I'm like, he's back, he's doing stuff. They're not calling certain plays where guys run across the formation or whatever, so they don't run into him and stuff. Like they're being cautious, but he's like, and he's not in 11 on 11, but he's doing 7-on-7s with the team. It's not like Mahomes is throwing off to the side. Like he's doing almost everything. He's starting week 1. Like I know there's some chance he doesn't start week 1, but like also he's starting week 1. You know, like it's and then you can take Mahomes, then you can take Worthy, you can take Kelsey. If you want to see on Monday, I'll be on with Pete, and we're going to draft Naked Mahomes again, and he's going to hate it. If you want to see what a Naked Mahomes team looks like, just watch Best Ball Breakfast every morning. Every Monday morning at 11 my time. 10 my time, so 2. We draft him every week naked. But I mean, yeah, when I have Rice, I'm like, yeah, Mahomes, great, boom, done. When you have Walker, Mahomes, awesome. You can backstack him with Kelsey and Worthy, both, or pick one. And I don't take much Thornton. I'm not taking Johnson yet, but I think like part of it to me is like because I think there's a pretty concentrated offense. Like I think Worthy, if he is what he can be, if he's healthy, if what they're saying, and what they're saying is that they didn't have him run routes over the middle of the field much after the shoulder injury, which happened like immediately. Because he wasn't right, then like they could expand his route tree and expand what he's doing and get more yak from him and have just him be a way more interesting player. I think Worthy could be one of the reasons that this offense takes off. Not because he's like necessarily a superstar, but what if he's their Jameson Williams?
Right.
He's a 5th round type of value or 4th, 5th round type of value.
And I think that's what he. I think that's what he. From a role perspective and like a talent perspective, that's what you're hoping for is Rasheed is Amon-Ra and Kelsey is Laporta.
Yeah.
And then you have Worthy as JMO. And it's like that's and then obviously Ken Walker is Gibbs or whatever. Like that.
And then every one of those players is worse. Like Walker's your Gibbs is way worse. And I like Walker, but he's way worse than Gibbs. Yeah. Worthy's worse than JMO. Rice is worse than Amon-Ra. Kelsey's probably worse than Laporta at this point. But the quarterback's better.
The quarterback is better, and look at the price that you're paying. You're not paying. You're not. If Rashee Rice went 7th overall, and Ken Walker went 102, and Travis Kelce went 90th, and Xavier Worthy went 48th or whatever, this would be a very different conversation, but they don't. That's the whole fucking it's the whole point is we're getting this ecosystem with sure, like I said, we can poke holes in individually in all of these different guys, but you can freely have the Kansas City Chiefs in every single draft that you do. It's not difficult. You can backstack them. You can take Walker or Rice. You can take, like you said, you could take naked Mahomes. You can bolt on Tyquan Thornton if you want. Like, it's so easy to get the Chiefs, and this is the first fucking time that's ever happened. Like
it's never been like
never
this.
happened.
And I'm pretty sure that this could be the key to the year. Like just like
Agreed.
Remember when the Chiefs were just one of those easy stacks that you could do every single draft? That was fun. Surprised that won a lot of people money.
It's like I think about that all the time. Like this game is both incredibly complex and the simplest game of all time. And I try to remind myself of the simple part because, we're drafting so many teams and you get in the muck and you're like galaxy branding stuff and whatever. And I try to just like sometimes take a step back and I'm just like Pat Mahomes in the 90s and like Rashee Rice in the 30s. And, if whoever, right, David Worthy at 110 and whatever, I'm like, could I see the Chiefs like just being the reason that I won? I'm like, yes, like that. That's like it's like the easiest thing to see of all time. Like in the entire player pool, it's like probably the easiest thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I'm seeing. That's the way I'm drafting. I'm drafting like Patrick Mahomes is ridiculously underpriced. I'm drafting like just taking Patrick Mahomes in the 90s might be the way to play it full stop. Like
Yeah.
I am taking naked Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking him because I think, hey, I can get Worthy and Kelsey later, but when I don't get those guys later, I'm not like tacking on Taekwon or whatever because I like have to have a stack. Like the answer could be just Mahomes. Like,
Right.
and maybe it's Mahomes is just like an advance rate god. And actually it's nice to get off of the Chiefs and onto some other stuff in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and maybe I have that team that's actually built around a 49er stack, but it also has Mahomes or, I've got some Cowboy stacks, but I also have Mahomes. I have stuff where I have like Ladd and then I grab Herbert and then I just also take Mahomes, right there at that turn. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe the health stuff, would be the strongest point against Mahomes at this price. But the health concern is, it is getting less concerning by the week.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten pushback, on Mahomes because of the rushing that he had last year and that being affected. But I think there's ways, to see this offense being a lot more explosive with the addition of Kenneth Walker. I mean, look, I know he's a running back, but like, god damn, the running game sucked ass last year. And the best thing about it was like Kareem Hunt could like pick up 2 yards when they needed 2 yards. Like that was the best thing you could say for the run game.
He's a success rate hacker. Like the
Yeah.
dude just hacked success rate and it made the Chiefs feel good because he got 3 yards, when they needed him to get 3 yards.
But like, man, like if teams have to respect the run game now, even a little bit, like which they didn't at all last year, and that to the point that it did hurt the passing game. And the rest of the NFL is like built around like trying to get teams to respect the run. Like it probably hurt the Chiefs that they couldn't do that whatsoever.
We talked about Derrick Henry at the very beginning of this episode of like what he helps unlock for 100%. Lamar and everything, and the Chiefs had quite literally the antithesis of that. Like no one gave a fuck.
No one gave a fuck. And yeah, I mean it could be huge for Walker, and I am taking Walker. I'm overweight on him. But it could be huge for Mahomes too, and you're paying for it a lot more with Walker than with Mahomes. Yeah, like it's tough to get really overweight on Walker because he's a second round pick and usually an early second round pick. Mahomes, I mean, I guess he's up into he's now 89.6. It looks like, so he's out of the 90s, and I do think he rises, but it won't be until. I mean, if you told me I had to take Mahomes, at that 6-7 turn with Drake May and Jalen Hurts and stuff, I would do it. I wouldn't even really hesitate
because we've also assuredly gotten good news if that rise comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
The assumption is just that he's Patrick Mahomes and the injury is largely not a concern anymore.
And I'd probably take him at the end of that group.
Yeah,
but if that's where he was, I would not be out on Patrick Mahomes. And like you said, if he's going there, then it's because he's starting week 1 now.
Right. If he's fine, and I like Dak Prescott. If he's fine and we're comfortable taking Dak Prescott at pick 75 or whatever, why would we not be comfortable taking Patrick Mahomes at pick 75? Right. The discount is the injury. But it would be assumed by that point that he's fine. And we have 2 more months. We have 2 more months for him to get fine and that news to start to come out.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, I'm getting like basically a 20 pick discount on where I think like fair value would be. And it used to be like close to 30 picks or at least 25.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm like, yeah, when if Joe Burrow were to fall 25 picks past ADP, I bet you'd take him naked.
right. Totally. 100%. It does. It makes an absolute ton of sense. I have seen you draft a bunch of naked Mahomes and other people see you draft the naked Mahomes, and it is a funny bit, but it does. I mean, as we talk it through, I don't
want it to like, it's not the goal because I have Kelsey and Worthy back there. But it's just like,
are you taking any more Rashid because that you
not a ton? Because
like
Rashid to me is like I think I'm like 13% Rashid. So I do take him, a good amount, but I'm not like he's basically. I have him rated at ADP. I've got him ranked 27th. His ADP is 28.5, so just a little ahead.
Yeah, he's moved up a little bit. It's annoying. It was so dude. The 9th place teams that I drafted with Rashid, in the late third, and then
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors in the early fourth with like whatever I took in the first 2 rounds. That like those screenshots are they're on my phone right here. I love them. I'm gonna hold them close to my heart, and I'm gonna enjoy every single bit of the fact that they're never even in contention to advance. But it was that little stretch was very fun, and it no longer exists. So.
Yeah, and when like Breece Hall's there or George Pickens falls, so I don't get a ton of as is. So like if Pickens is there, I'm going to take him over Rashi generally. Almost all the time because I just don't get Pickens, and I don't want to be completely out.
Yeah.
McBride falls to that spot now, so I'm actually not prioritizing him, Rashi Rice, at this new price, and so yeah, but I do take him, over some other guys that like I take him over Chris Olave and stuff. So
yeah. Rasheed maybe have been in jail, but at least he's not spitting up blood and like Jesus. The Chris Olave arc has been this poor guy has had
it's funny. Olave it's so funny how guys who were like, oh no, I'm not touching that guy. Chris Olave, 6th round, can't touch him, can't take him, concussions. He goes 1 year without missing it. Oh, yeah, he was a great pick. He's a great pick. I was taking a ton of them. And it's like he goes with a year without the concussion, which is awesome. You love to see that. But he does have this other, blood clot thing, and you're like, huh. And I think that, the 6th round, like we baked in some risk for him last year, but he still was simming great for us. Like I think I think the market was just overreacting to real risk.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, just really hot on him. And I'm like, I'm not like, it's not the injury risk so much, although the vibes aren't great. But it's more like, remember when you guys wouldn't even take him in the 6th? Like they just drafted a 1st round receiver where the quarterback we're not actually sure is good. He's probably good, but he might not be good. So I don't know. It's just funny to see the market be like, nah, dude, you gotta take Chris Olave in the early 3rd. If you don't get it.
He went from wide receiver Tua. He was wide receiver Tua.
Wide receiver Tua. Like it's in this, and it's like the same guy. That's the part that gets me. It's like, I know you were the guy who made fun of me for taking him last year when he was cheap. And now you're taking him expensive.
You took Chris Olave in the 6th round. Don't you know he's one injury away from the fucking morgue or whatever? And it's like, but yes, I took him there, and now it's like he's a 2-3. He's right back. We've just recently it's so Chiefs in the opposite way, right? To kind of like tie a bow on it. This is what we do. We chase our tails. This is like the thing that I've really wrapped my head around in best ball, fantasy football overall, but best ball specifically is like we really, really chase our tails on like, here's what happened last year. Here's the things that scared me about what happened last year. And I'm going to probably double and sometimes triple count those things that scare me, or like in the Chiefs instance, it's like they suck. And Olave too, they sucked at a cost that really killed me, right? If I drafted Chris Olave was a 2nd round pick a couple years ago. If I drafted Chris Olave in the 2nd round, that team, it was over before it started, right? And so then absolutely not. I'm not touching this guy. 6th, are you serious? You couldn't draft Chris Olave. And so we a shout out. There's a guy named Big
Rookie
Country
quarterback Tyler Shuck. Never heard of him.
Exactly.
I'll never get excited about Tyler Shuck in my whole life.
Did you watch Spencer Rattler on QB1? That guy's a fucking loser. Like, come on. It's Tyler Shuck is 27 years old, and Spencer Rattler is anyway. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we've said like when guys disappoint, especially at higher prices, sometimes we will ding them like double,
for sure.
And I think that's the ultimate culmination of what has happened with the Chiefs. Is like year over year, we're like chasing the Chiefs thing, and it's like not working and not working and not working. And so now it's like, fuck this. We're out, right? This is the royal we, where the collective we is like, enough of this Chiefs thing. And it's like, actually now I think this is when we should do it, right? It's like last year, Olave, it was like, well, now he's at advantageous price. Now is when we should actually like
Mahomes
take
is
it
like
from
6,000 on DK this week. Let's play
Right.
him. What do you think?
right. Josh Allen's
Should we play him?
9,000 and Mahomes is 6,000. I think this is the time
We should
to
probably play him.
you know, and Rashee is 6,500 instead of 8,500, right? You would play that stack all the time. So anyway, that we wrapped it up. We did it. We did it. 4 episodes, all 32 teams. These were the final 8. This was a ton of fun. I learned a lot, and I feel smarter and possibly dumber because
Smarter and dumber.
because Kerrane doesn't like Keaton Mitchell, and so I'm upset. I think that's going to trigger me for the rest of the summer. That'll be one of our sticking points. He likes a corner who you have to draft as a wide receiver, and he doesn't like Keaton Mitchell. That's our biggest. I will say we made through 32 teams, and there were not that many disagreements. I don't know what that says.
It's good. It's definitely good. Don't think about it too hard. It's definitely good.
Positive vibes. The mental health hack. This is we're on the Ray Davis track of the positive. James Cook's not going to play in week 17. Ray Davis is going to.
I would like to issue an apology to listeners because I do have a heart out. I didn't bother telling you about it because it was 2 hours and 55 minutes from when we started. But here we are. I've got to go, and that means we will not be talking about.
By the way,
I bet.
Yeah.
We don't have time to talk about the Chiefs running back 3.
Yeah,
Amari DiMercato talk is going to have to wait till the next pod. But for now,
rewind to the LeQuint Allen talk if you'd like to kind of figure out what the Amari DiMercato talk might look like. We're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for yet another marathon pod. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We'll be back. We'll be back with something fun next week for you guys, and enjoy your weekend. Cheers.